We now have ourselves a war that is rapidly spreading across the world. Oil prices are spiking. The stock market is crashing and accelerating. This is one of the largest drops we've seen in years. Stock market is now down 1,166 points. Oil prices have spiked another 8% today after an 8% gain yesterday. Year to date, the oil started at 57. It's up $20 so far. As the markets are starting to price in the reality that there may be a longer and more disruptive damage to the world economy. The United States of America has closed its embassies in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And honestly, this attack on Iran reminds me a lot of Russia's attack on Ukraine, where a lot of people, including myself, thought it was unlikely, oh my God, Jesus Christ, that the United States would actually do a long war because they didn't have enough forces. The toilets on the USS Gerald Ford were failing. 2 aircraft carriers was not considered plausible. Yesterday's video about Bitcoin spiking, well, ladies and gentlemen, crypto is also back down to 66,000. Gold and silver are dropping. Silver down at 9.5%. Basically, silver is acting like a cryptocurrency. Gold down 5% today. Platinum down 12%. Palladium down 9%. I honest to God, I've never seen moves like this. Treasury yields are spiking as people are selling bonds. People are selling bonds and stocks. European markets are down as well. Asian markets are down. South Korea's market has seen its worst day in 19 months. The stock market decline is accelerating. It's now down 1,200 points. I don't know what to say. I legitimately don't know what to say. The United States of America is fucking stupid. And honestly, what can you even say? Did you see them emergency loading infantry units last night in Virginia to ship them out? I mean, they thought they could just assassinate Khomeini like they assassinated Soleimani, get the win, get the optics win on American television because they're fucking boomers. Now Donald Trump, apparently U.S. troops were being told that it was Armageddon and that they were fighting for the return of Jesus. U.S. troops were told Iran war is for Armageddon / return of Jesus. This is now widely being reported. Obviously my general feeling about this is I've been talking about the far right pseudo religion of Southern Baptism and all the other similar televangelist spawn of America's death cult known as the Deep South. And we need to get rid of it. We need to have a cultural revolution, and we need to annihilate these fonts of reaction. I'm sorry if that comes across as harsh, but the fact that they are now threatening us with Armageddon. I mean, this is what could you say? What the fuck could you even say to this? I think one of the things that is kind of fun for somebody like Asmongold is that things are worse, and the fact that they're hypocritical is fun for them, right? Like, can you imagine if such a similar situation was happening under Biden or Harris or something? They would be crying, right? But the fact that they know that now they're just flip-flopping to try to support it. Now, personally, I think Asmongold is kind of tired of life. I legitimately think he's tired of life. He has no hope of things getting better, right? And it's really just like a nihilistic lash out. Did I short stocks? No, I didn't. I didn't short stocks. Honestly, I no longer have confidence that the markets reflect anything. I think this is an attempt by the markets for Taco Trump, right? For the longest time, the markets have been operating under the idea that Donald Trump is going to back down whenever the stock market goes down, right? And now that there's actual consequences for their actions, what are we going to do? Just stop? Iran has said they're going to retaliate for 60 to 90 days. My SPY puts are printing. Give me your tithe. Remember, chat, if you're a Mike for PA watcher and you make any money in the stock market, you owe Mike for PA a 10% tithe. I'm kidding. Unless. Takuyote, thank you for the 5 tier 1s. I picked up the Dispossessed. Of course, it's great. Should I be scooping up discounts? Do you have confidence in the American government and the economy? The Israels just struck the meeting of the Iranian Supreme Council where officials were gathering to choose a new supreme leader. A senior Israeli official told Fox News. Israel struck while they were counting the votes for the appointment of the supreme leader. Do these guys not have Zoom? Why do they keep gathering in large groups? Yeah. I mean, I do think that we're in this kind of liminal space where Israel doesn't have any support but the world sociopaths, and it's kind of like a supreme council of sociopaths. And sociopaths only stop when they start suffering personal consequences. You cannot appeal to a sociopath's sense of justice or right and wrong.
The U.S. has shut down 2 embassies, one in Saudi Arabia, one in Kuwait, as Iran steps up its retaliatory strikes on American assets and allies across the Middle East.
I mean, I honest to God, I don't know. You know, at this point, guys, these are. Well, let me be completely honest with you, Chad. These are rapidly changing events. Our ability to analyze them depends upon our ability to get accurate information. And in the fog of war, we can't. I could only look at the same verified reports and videos. And now with AI slop thrown out there, Asman is just a nihilist. He is rich, dirty, dumb, and has nothing going on. He's not really a nihilist. He's not even really a nihilist. He is incapable of the level of thought required to be a nihilist. He's just a sadist. He's just a sadist. Like, nihilism is too intelligent for him. He doesn't know what that fucking means. Does this substantiate Mike from PA thought that the U.S. is almost military entirely graft? The DOD's budget is $850 billion and they can't fight a war for more than a couple weeks? What the hell are we paying for? Scam. It's all a fucking scam. It's all a fucking scam. Like everything else in the U.S. economy. Stop making shit, and that includes bombs. Can't even fight a war. I almost want, I know we shit on Kat Abou-Ghazaleh a lot yesterday, and I'm gonna keep doing that until she loses. But the idea that we should fight a war against China is so stupid and such an evil idea that I honest to God and truly think that if you support it, you are subhuman. And you're subhuman because you are dumber than fucking dirt. Okay, China has 300 times our shipbuilding capacity. All of our stuff is made there. All of the rare earth metals come from China. All the batteries. What the fuck are we gonna fight China with? Stock markets, the stock certificates, crypto coins? What the fuck are you talking about? We can barely make a fucking artillery shell invented in 1937. I almost want, I don't want the United States to fight a war. And I'm not rooting for another country to kill Americans, that would be beyond the pale. And that would probably be illegal and against TOS. So I would never do that. However, the United States of America getting one of their aircraft carriers sunk might be really good for the psychology of all future American presidents. Because right now they think that we are immune from consequences. And now we're learning we're not. Stock market has continued to decline. Vertical line downward. And I think what the United States more than anything needs is a sense that our actions have consequences. Meanwhile, the Ellisons, the Zionists, Israel's spies are buying up Paramount and CNN, I guess, to spread more propaganda to you fucking, guys, I'm trying not to... the people that support this deal to buy up Paramount and merge it with to have no media channels but one in the United States of America, it is so dumb. I don't even know what to say. It's so stupid. It's so obviously not going to work. But CNN, MSNBC are propaganda. No, they're gonna make, yes they are, but they're gonna make it even worse. They're gonna make it so that you can't, it's gonna be the Gestapo. It's going to be the Ministry of Propaganda under Nazi Germany, where you can't even utter anything that approximates reality. Paramount deal for WBD is a lot cleaner. I mean, this is just pathetic shit. Casual NatSec guys don't get that existence is victory in the face of oppression. Real NatSec ghouls are well aware and viscerally offended. I mean, I don't give a shit what any of these if you support the American empire, you're dumb as fucking dirt. We've made the world worse. My entire life, we have made the world worse. That's just an objective fact. The only place that has gotten better in my lifetime is China. And China, when I was born, was in bad shape. While most people are preoccupied with the war in Iran, Third Way is hosting a conference in Charleston on how moderates can crush the left in 2028. No mention of the war this morning, but their 15 viewers have enjoyed plenty of Gen Xers making jokes in Gen X slang. Nobody cares about these fucking right-wing scum! Chat, listen. 15 viewers. I legitimately could take a shit and get 100 times that many viewers. Me making a poopy to get 100 times the viewers of Third Way video. Oil prices going up at a fucking vertical fucking line, dude. Donald Trump was handed the easiest economy in fucking history. And what did they do? Cut taxes on the rich and started wars everywhere. What is a better economic system? All capitalism 59%, socialism 41%, among Republicans 74% capitalism, 26% socialism, among Democrats 54% socialism, 46% capitalism. This is with 0% of the media saying how good socialism is. This is with all the propaganda, the Red Scares, the oppression, the destruction of trade unions, the destruction, like this is just people talking to each other on social media. It's already at 41%. I don't even know what to say. I legitimately don't even know what to say anymore. I'm doing what millennials like to do, which is, looking at homes, right? And I am seeing legitimate pieces of shit selling for $900,000 in a bad neighborhood in Los Angeles. And when I say a bad neighborhood, I mean a neighborhood that has a lot of homeless. It has a very poor public infrastructure. I'm talking about very poor schools. And I ask myself, why the fuck is that? That's insane. That's actually fucking insane. And when I say homeless, I'm referring to large encampments of poor homeless people or abandoned RVs. And I'm like, our society cannot provide basic infrastructure, cannot provide basic necessities to its citizens. People would rather blame the homeless than reckon with. I remember what it was like in the 80s. I remember what it was like in the 90s. I remember what it was like in the early aughts. There is a significant number more people that are living on the streets than there used to be. There's more. And a lot of these people have fucking degrees. A lot of these people have held jobs their entire lives. I legitimately don't understand how anybody's making ends meet. Socialism in California, you're a fucking moron. Gavin Newsom was basically a Republican in San Francisco. The entire Democratic Party in California is captured by right-wing money. They're all pawns of banks in the real estate lobby. There's no socialism in fucking California. They don't even have taxes on property.
Both embassies hit by suspected Iran drone attacks. And there's also this video showing a massive inferno at one of the world's largest oil refineries in Saudi Arabia. The death toll for U.S. forces since the war began has now risen to 6 after a counterstrike against a U.S. facility in Kuwait. The State Department is now warning Americans to leave nearly the entire Middle East immediately. Let's go to Nick Robertson. He is in Saudi Arabia, where the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia.
We could have just had peace, by the way. We could have just elected Bernie Sanders in 2016 and had peace. We could have had free college, free healthcare. We would be building a Green New Deal. We could have just voted for that. I know everybody wants to blame the DNC and they want to blame and ultimately, yes, it's not fair, but it was all the option was there. I voted for the option. I was there arguing for it, but you wanted the warmongers. And people in this chat will still defend voting for Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris. They will still defend it.
Arabia has been attacked. What are you seeing? What are you learning?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, and I think just to follow up on what Clarissa's saying, it is a needle, an incredibly delicate needle to be threaded by the Saudi government here over what's happened last night. You had those 2 drone impacts right outside the U.S. Embassy here.
This is right after the United States Navy was humbled by the Houthis. Now we're going to fight Iran? The Houthis in one of the poorest countries in the world that's been in a war zone and sanctioned and by the United States and Saudi Arabia for a decade, humbling the fucking U.S. Navy in the Red Sea. And we're going to then fight Iran. The Persian people made it through the entire period of imperialism without being fully subjugated. This is not, I'm going to explain something so that people kind of get it. Iran is not like Iraq, okay? Iran is not like Syria. All right. It's not like Kuwait. It's not like the UAE. These are all fake countries that were made up by the French and the British after World War I, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. They just put random lines on a map. OK, that's not a nation. That's not a society that has a coherence to it, that people want to fight. Nobody wants to fight and die for Iraq. OK. The Arab world is divided into these little camps, these little fiefs for the various the families, the crime families that sell out the Arab world to Western capital. That's the Arab world. This is Iran. Okay. This is a ancient nation. Khomeini was the head of a religion. This is a society that has had independent institutions for decades from the United States. And we could bomb their cities and we could assassinate their leaders because we spend $1 trillion fucking on our military. And we are in charge of the financial system, and we do have control over so much of the technological development. That is true. The United States of America is the world superpower. We could certainly kill a lot of Iranians, but to defeat Iran, the United States of America is not willing to pay the price it would take in blood to do so. You know why the Arab states are not entering the war on Iran? Because the people of the Middle East are in favor of defeating Israel and the United States. There is an overwhelming grassroots energy of defeating Israel and the United States. They're scared shitless. These Arab puppets are scared shitless.
Riyadh, there were no casualties as far as we're aware. There was some damage. There was a fire lit by those attacks. Then there was a report that more drones were on their way. The State Department issued a shelter in place for the embassy here, for the consulate in the west in Jeddah, for the consulate in Dhahran in the east, much closer to Iran, inside Saudi Arabia, to shelter in place there. And then that warning about a couple of other drones being in the air. Also, we had confirmation that they impacted. Saudi authorities saying that they intercepted other drones flying in. We know yesterday that the Saudis intercepted drones flying over.
By the way, chat, the Iranian drones are cheap as fuck. Our interceptors are expensive. We're using THAAD interceptors on rockets that the Iranians can make for approximately 1% of the cost or less. They're making drones for $10,000. And by the way, the design is so effective that the United States of America is copying Iran's drone design. But of course, our copies are 10 times more expensive, 20 times more expensive.
An oil refinery, there was a little bit of damage there. They intercepted 5 drones, they say, around a military airbase, a Saudi military airbase just outside of the capital, Riyadh. There's a sense here that Saudi Arabia is getting drawn closer into what is seen as a U.S.-Israel war, where the goalposts, listening to the president, to others in the administration, a sense of the goalposts, if not shifting, are not clearly defined on what the outcome is going to be. But from here, a very strong diplomatic language again, calling this a violation of international norms to attack diplomatic premises, and also reaffirming their commitment to protecting their own security, their own citizens, including the right to respond to aggression. So it's strong diplomatic language, but again, walking a tightrope, reluctant to get drawn into a conflict that is putting out its tentacles, and they calculate Iran intentionally having these escalations by reaching deep into Saudi Arabia at U.S. targets.
I'm here with CNN Global Affairs analyst Brett McGurk, and I just want to reiterate what our reporters in this region have said. The U.S. Embassy now in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait City, they are closed. The State Department has ordered non-essential, non-emergency personnel out of the UAE, out of Qatar, out of Bahrain, out of Jordan, out of Iraq. And in addition to that, Brett, the State Department suggested that every American, basically almost anywhere on this map, get out if they can. What does that tell you?
Yeah, John, the last notice you just met, I've never seen anything like that. And what that shows is the threat reporting from Iran is off the charts. That doesn't mean they'll be able to carry out all their threats, but we're clearly seeing the intent of Iran to target Americans everywhere, not just drones and missiles, probably terrorism, various asymmetric threats. Again, I have never seen notice like that from the State Department. Every American across the Middle East find a way to get out of the region. And of course, they're on their own. They don't, civilian flights, as we just heard, might not be available. What is Iran trying to do here? Why are they doing this? Why are they attacking all 6 countries in the Gulf? They are trying to put pressure on these countries.
By the way, Chad, this is Joe Biden's military advisor, Brett McGurk, who is the primary architect of Biden's strategy in Gaza. In case you're wondering who this guy is that's talking, this is the Democrats' foreign policy advisor,
which have close relations with the United States, to basically say to Washington,
this is the guy who is making all the decisions. If you were ever wondering, like, why is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris killing themselves for Israel, this is the guy telling them to do it.
Stop. We need to de-escalate.
Now, in terms of unprecedented, you've never seen.
By the way, you're going to assassinate the head of state and a major religious figure, and then go, guys, why are you shooting at our bases? Guys, stop shooting at our bases. These countries allowed Israel and America to overfly their territory and shoot missiles at Iran. And then they're going to be like, but I'm just a small bean. No, motherfucker, no. The United States of America, after 9/11, George W. Bush said, if you're not with us, you're with the terrorists. In other words, you better actively aid us in our war. Now the countries who are actively aiding the United States are now surprised. Oh, I'm such a small bee. Why are you bombing my refinery? I mean, if I were Iran, like, again, as I said, if I were the Iranian leader, if I was putting on their hat for a second and I was making decisions, I would destroy every single thing within reach. Any country that allies with the United States, I would be destroying, and I would go from the most vulnerable shit on down the list. I would destroy everything within reach. I would make fucking with Iran so catastrophically dangerous that that would never happen again. I would build a nuke yesterday. You know what's going on in North Korea right now? North Korea's economy is fucking booming.
This is North Korea, the most isolated country on Earth. They trade with almost no one, while sanctioned by almost everyone. And
their economy is growing faster. There's a construction boom. Bad news, North Korea is having a moment. North Korea's economy is booming, according to the National Security Journal. Because why? They have a fucking nuke. They have a fucking nuke, and they say, hey, fuck with us, we're nuking, motherfucker. We'll nuke you, bitch. The United States has done everything they can to destroy North Korea, including trying to starve the population. And North Korea said the most important thing for us to do is build a fucking nuclear weapon. And they have never been more vindicated than now. Everyone is scared shitless of them. People barely bring up North Korea at this point because their strength is backed by nuclear hellfire. And you know who won in South Korea? The party that says, maybe we should make peace. That's the party that's in power now. Maybe we should make peace with North Korea. You know, that's the party that got elected because North Korea has a nuclear weapon.
Anything like it in terms of ordering everyone out of the region. There are a couple things also that I'm not sure we've seen, which is in Doha, in Qatar, right here. The Qataris shot down, they say, 2 Iranian planes. That's extraordinary. I don't think we've ever heard that before. And then in Lebanon, the Lebanese government cracking down on Hezbollah, which is highly unusual also.
Oh, wow. Are the Israel puppets attacking Hezbollah? You don't say. Apparently, Israel's also trying to start a war in Lebanon. You have to understand something, chat. That's what's happening is you are dying for Israel, you fucking peasant. And Israel is trying to use the United States military to steal as much land from the surrounding countries as possible. And if they get into too much of a conflict, America is going to bail them out. That's what they feel like. They feel like Israel will be bailed out by Donald Trump if they get in trouble.
This may be showing stuff's backfiring on the Iranians?
So let me break it down. I mean, strategically, 2 Gulf countries with the closest relations with Iran historically are, as you mentioned, Qatar and Oman. Iran again attacked Oman today, which is surprising.
Because they have American bases in them, you fucking moron, lying propagandist, dipshit, idiot, fucking moron, scumbag, war criminal. You should be executed at The Hague for war crimes. I'm sorry, I don't think they do executions anymore. He should be prosecuted at The Hague and put into fucking prison. Genocide maniac, fucking evil piece of shit.
Qatar shot down 2 Iranian fighter jets yesterday. Honestly, never thought I would see that. I suspect we will see more military action from these Gulf states, maybe UAE and Saudi Arabia, maybe today over the coming days. I think that's something Iran didn't expect. And that shows this is having the counter reaction that Iran wants. This is actually galvanizing these Gulf states in self-defense, in unity against what Iran is doing. And you mentioned Lebanon.
States. Notice they call them Gulf states because they're not nations. They're just various fiefdoms that America has granted to the most corrupt gangsters that run these countries. That's what the Saudi royal family is. It's just a gangster family that we put into power to buy their oil. And they won't do any of those pesky things like workers' rights. Techies need to go to these countries they support. Countries they support? What the fuck? Will we go to... By the way, you are a fucking moron. By the way, you're a fucking moron, dipshit, scumbag, genocide supporting pedophile. You've been on Twitch since 2012. Oh, we're gonna find you. We're gonna find you. We got some. Oh wait. We got some all-time clips. We got some clips. Okay, guys, can't wait. I can look at you for 5 minutes and you know what I know, dude? No bitches. You've got a house. You're in your apartment. There's nothing on the fucking walls, which means no women are there ever. Bitchless. 40 years old, playing Dune alone to your ambient techno mix to 0 viewers. Legitimately, dude, you should yourself. And when I say that, I mean relax. Dog, you generally need jail time. Techies need to go to these countries they support for the comfort of their Cali home or New York City apartment. You need to pay for supporting crimes against humanity. Bro, you support Israel. What crime against humanity did I support, you dumb fuck? Your mental acrobatics have landed you far from any logic and obviously any empathy for a human being. You support Israel! They just bombed 120 kids! I'm sorry, 160. They just bombed an elementary school, you fucking subhuman! You fucking subhuman! They just killed 150 little girls, you fucking subhuman! Meanwhile, America's a fucking shithole. Go North Korea, whose economy is booming. You hairy waste of education. You braid yourself. What the fuck? I'm pointing out. God, you're so stupid. You can't even understand what I'm saying. Pointing out that North Korea made itself secure by getting a nuclear weapon. And that what is happening is the United States of America is making it logical that if you don't have a nuclear weapon, no matter how big of a country you are under threat from the United States of America. And that includes Brazil and Mexico. Brazil and Mexico are under threat from the United States because they don't have nukes. Meanwhile, North Korea is doing great because they do. Now, compared to what? Compared to previously. That's the logic that the United States is creating. The United States is making it impossible to do diplomacy because whatever leaders of a country that is adversarial to the United States meet, the United States attacks their country and assassinates their leaders, which eventually is going to lead to the same shit happening to us. And you think that it's a fucking video game. But in the United Kingdom, they started a new left-wing socialist party. And they said, I'm tired of these centrists fucking loser at the Labour Party. And guess what happened? Can you give me a chart? Can you give me a chart? People like charts. Greens overtake Starmer's Labour in new UK poll. The leftist socialist party has surged past the centrist party in the United Kingdom.
Polling everyone's political calculations. Look at this. The Greens, for the first time ever, in second place, leapfrogging Labour, now in third place in the aftermath of the Gorton and Denton by-election. This is a Sky News, Times, YouGov weekly voting intention poll. It seems like the Gorton and Denton...
Chat, I'm sorry, but you can look at these two and you know these are true blue British people, okay? These are British people, and that's fucking beautiful. That's probably not something you're used to hearing, but it's true, okay? Honestly, she looks like a relative of mine, if I'm being completely honest with you, because I am half Scottish. That chatter from before is an Asmongold follower that tells you all you need to know. Pathetic fucking worm. Donald Trump is going to go down in history as the least popular U.S. president. And when President AOC comes into office, it's going to be a fucking great. Also, let me just say something, chat. And I mean this. AOC and Zoran, that's it. That's the end. Then in politics is going to become people like me. It's not, you know, those are the last. If you want a good, peaceful life, Zoran and AOC are your last shot. After that comes people like me. And I am a tanky. I am a tanky. You don't know what a tanky is. You think Hassan is a tanky? Because he says we shouldn't do a genocide? You think that's a fucking tanky? You don't know what a tanky is. Pro layers. And by the way, chat, I read him to filth. I would rather have a girl in almost every circumstance in my life. Bro, I saw your apartment. There was nothing on the walls. You were playing Dune at fucking 2 a.m. Nothing on the walls. No woman has ever been in that place. You cock. So they say that Islam is a political religion to its core. Wow, guys. We've got a religious expert. In fact, that's not the case. Moderate Islam predominated over the world until what? The United States set up a theocratic state in Saudi Arabia and started pumping billions of dollars into Wahhabist propaganda. Why? To fight socialism and secularism. To protect the capitalist class, you fucking illiterate. Who the fuck in their right mind thought it's a good idea to import Somalis? Paid extremism is a big thing. Yes, his name is Asmongold. With his bots and his European incel followers. Fucking loser. Video games should be more important to be looked at as more serious by society as a pastime activity rather than Islam and mass controlling tools. That's a Roman law, baby. What's so funny is that the United States of America is a common law jurisdiction, not a civic law jurisdiction. So they're like going, oh, it's Roman law, when in reality, America's legal system is only superficially related to Roman law. It's extremely attenuated. You're thinking of somewhere like Germany or France, you dumb fuck. Again, you don't really know anything. You just have the aesthetics of thinking you know something.
Again, strategically, the number one proxy group around
Dude fan but hates Islam. I know. He's a Philistine. Don't expect him to understand anything.
Had for decades. One reason it has been there's been such deterrence against ever attacking into Iran is because of
that dude has never made a woman come, and he knows it. That's the thing with like Asmongold and Tectone and their fans. They have never made a woman come. Like that is, I think at least 90% of them have never made a woman come. That's, by the way, that's fucking crazy. It's not hard.
They had hundreds of thousands of rockets and missiles they can rain down on Tel Aviv. Now Hezbollah
didn't Tectone admit to not only did Tectone admit to never having like vaginal sex, he admitted to never making his partner have a sexually pleasurable experience in court under oath. That's fucking crazy, dude.
Has been knocked on its back over the multiple conflicts that have been fought since October 7th. And yesterday, the Lebanese government, for the really first time, said all Hezbollah military activity is banned in Lebanon. That's something Iran does not want to see. So that is also...
By the way, Lebanon is under attack from Israel being invaded, and Lebanon's government is saying, don't resist Israel. Do you understand why Hezbollah has government power? You understand why Hezbollah grows? Because the Lebanon puppet government is saying, don't resist Israel as we're being invaded and killed. You understand why these states are all fake? This is why, by the way, political Islam, jihadism has grown in the Middle East. The answer is because leftists and secular nationalists have been annihilated by the United States because they were considered to be threats that would ally with the Soviet Union. And so leftism has been annihilated in the Middle East. Anybody who believes in secularism, anyone who believes in socialism, communists are shot and thrown into ditches. Every single secular or left wing or labor union or anything that comes from the left has been ruthlessly annihilated. So the only place where people could resist imperialism has been on the political far right, Islamic right, because they were seen as useful idiots to oppose socialism. Well, that tiger that America has ridden for decades is starting to twist from underneath them. The tiger is getting hungry and trying to bite America and feed. Meanwhile, we have a religious extremist Jewish supremacist state of Israel that sees the entire Middle East as its territory, Nazi-like, to annex. That's the reality. The Christian nationalists in Lebanon still believe Israel will allow them a carve-out. Yes, we know. They're called loaner box. We know.
That's the strategic picture. But tactically, John, the question is how long can Iran keep up this tempo of short-range missiles and drones?
Yeah.
We're not going to be talking about the Gilded Age today. We're talking about the world war that is rapidly accelerating while the stock market crashes. So as much as I want to talk about like structural capitalism or whatever, we're just not going to probably get to it, you know, because you know, the world is rapidly devolving, and you know, as oil supplies get constrained, we're having a dual crisis. That this may be the point where the economy crashes, but maybe not. Maybe Donald Trump will prop it up with infinite printed money. Who knows? But AI is causing hundreds of thousands of people to be laid off. Whether they could actually be replaced by AI or not is an open question. But we're also now having a massive energy constraint. That's stagflation, baby. Majority of all Americans now support abolishing ICE. 50% support, 39% oppose. A majority for abolishing ICE, including a plurality among white people. And that's without the Democrats saying anything.
Intention poll. It seems like the Gorton and this bombshell polling is going to upend everyone's political calculations. Look at this. The Greens, for the first time ever, in second place, leapfrogging Labour, now in third place in the aftermath of the Gorton and Denton by-election. This is a Sky News, Times, YouGov weekly voting intention poll. It seems like the Gorton and Denton by-election has given the Greens a wave of publicity to propel them into heights they've never been before. Every age category under 50 now has the Greens in the lead. Is this going to leave Labour? This bombshell polling is going to upend everyone's political calculations. Look at...
I mean, like that, ladies and gentlemen, is all you need to know. It is socialism or it is barbarism. And even if you're a right-wing moron, you understand that that's true. You understand. And by the way, if you choose barbarism, it's okay. It's okay. You're allowed to do it. Not even with the Dems saying anything. The Dems are actively trying to get people to support ICE. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Because they're fascist fucking collaborators.
Everybody in the street knows the political center has failed. Everybody knows. So something has to change. There's a quote from Milton Friedman, American economist. At times of crisis, the new idea will be chosen from the ideas lying around at the time. Everybody knows that we will get something new in politics. And it is really obvious what the loudest idea lying around now is, which is the far right. And the second loudest idea is us. Tax the rich. So if you are a billionaire and you know that politics is going to move either towards the far right or tax the rich, what are you going to do? You are going to fund the far right, and they are doing it aggressively. Look at what Elon Musk is doing. These guys know that they don't want to pay higher taxes, and they are correct that the way to prevent yourself from having to pay higher taxes is to aggressively fund the far right. Everybody in the street.
And by the way, he's completely correct, which is why these guys need, when we get into power, it can't just be about taxing them. They must be individually and personally constrained. Now, I have a variety of ways in my mind that they're going to be constrained. Like I do. I have some ideas in my mind. Maybe you think that they should have their companies broken up. Maybe you think that they should be taxed, expropriatively. And maybe you think that they should be aggressively investigated for any crimes and prosecuted. But they have to be constrained. How dare you guys say the Devs aren't doing anything? I know. I think part of the reason why, new guillotine and everybody, I need to make this explanation. The reason why a lot of people get angry at you when you say the Dems aren't doing anything is because that's their belief, their false belief that the Democrats are doing something is the only thing that keeps them from panicking. It's like trying to take away a toddler's teddy bear during a lightning storm or a thunderstorm. They don't understand why the thunderstorm is happening. They just hear the loud booms and they're frightened. And so they hold on to Mr. Bearsley for comfort, right? If you kick the door into their room and say, Mr. Bearsley's not doing anything to protect you from the thunderstorm, and you try to take it away, they're going to fight you. They're going to scream at you. They're going to cry at you because to them, you're taking away their comfort. And they're not emotionally and intellectually mature enough to understand rainstorms and thunderstorms yet. All they see is the mean leftists coming in to take away Mr. Bearsley. The Democratic Party is Mr. Bearsley for a large portion of intellectually stunted American adults. Now, what if it wasn't a lightning storm, but artillery strikes? And the only way to save ourselves is to get out of the fucking burning house. Hiding under the bed with Mr. Bearsley is going to lead to your death. And that's where we are with the Democratic Party. You are hanging on to something that is, quite frankly, not doing anything to make you safe. Every billionaire's post-apocalyptic bunker should be seized. I want you to understand something, chat, that the bunkers don't work. They are a loot spawn. The first thing that we would do if there was post-apocalyptic, you know what rules the post-apocalypse? The same thing that rules now. The people that have the largest number of people that are working together. That's who rules the wasteland. And every billionaire bunker is just a loot spawn. All it takes is a couple pieces of heavy equipment, some vegetable oil to replace diesel, and some torches. And if necessary, pig shit, diesel, and ball bearings, if you get my drift. We will crack any bunker from the outside that is not active. Bunkers are only used if they are and are only effective if they are supporting an active defender to enhance the military effectiveness of a defender. Closing a big metal door is nothing more than a day or two's inconvenience. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, give me a fucking break. So they can build all the bunkers they want. They ain't nothing without infantry to defend them. Nothing but a loot spawn for whoever's organized. How do the wealthy keep their guards from turning on them? Exactly. Money is worthless. How do they... Why doesn't the commander of the guards just say, it's my bunker now, and put a gun to the family? Like, the first... You know the first thing that happens to the bunker, in the bunker? The first thing that happens in the bunker after whatever happens... The guy who's the most charismatic in charge of the guards says, all right, well, let's get rid of the dead weight, and kills every single rich fuck that's inside the bunker. If society is really collapsing, it's not going to be some rich pampered nerd that keeps going inside the bunker.
And they seem prepared to keep it up for some time.
This is the Jihad drone right now, which has been such an effective weapon for Iran over the last few days, and for the Russians in Ukraine. Iran has been supplying the Russians with this. I do want to ask one other question about some action that the Iranians are trying to take or threatening to take. They say they're closing, essentially, the Strait of Hormuz. This is this shipping lane right here. It's just 20 miles wide, only 2 miles wide, actually, where ships can go through. 20% of the world's oil passes through that, and you can sort of see the impact of that right here. These are the straits right here. Another look, and this is a live look at all the ships in the region, and you can see right here, which is basically that bottleneck, nothing's going through.
2 miles, yeah, you're right. 20 miles wide, 2 miles for the ships. Iran has said nothing can pass. If that continues for a period of time, I think you'll see a significant effect on global oil markets. I would just say, I've been watching this closely. Oil prices are now creeping a little bit above 80. That's far above where it has been. But I just remind people, early in the Ukraine conflict, oil prices, global prices went up to 130 at one point, and we're hovering around 110. So keep this in some context. We have tools to keep the prices low. But again, Iran is trying to wreak global havoc. So the
pressure... By the way, Chad, this is what the leader of the UK Greens just said. The choice is stark. Reform or the party of forward wars and high bills. The Greens want de-escalation and energy security through renewables. Solar and wind prices don't fluctuate when rogue U.S. presidents launch illegal bombing campaigns. And he's quote tweeting, breaking, Europe gas prices surge 50% after Qatari LNG production halts. Is there anyone that can debate with this? Is there anyone that can disagree with this? And look at the bots. Look at the bots. This is what happens in the bunker from Triangle of Sadness. She caught octopus and had she got some limes. She cooked it. She got some herbs. So they're all stuck on a beach. I think
one for you, one for me, one for you, one for me.
No. What? No. Why do you get so much food?
I caught the fish.
Yes?
I made the fire.
And?
I cooked. I did all the work. And everybody got something.
work on a yacht. You are a toilet manager. You don't know how to handle this.
What's yacht? Where's the yacht? In the yacht, toilet manager here. Captain, who am I?
You're the captain.
Yes. Who am I?
Captain.
Very good. Cutie pie?
Captain.
Who am I?
Captain.
Who am I?
Captain.
Who am I? Who am I?
I mean, I gotta tell you that if I'm her, you know, this greedy rich parasite is giving me eyes.
Down in Washington to pull back, and we'll see if they can succeed. But yeah, that is definitely a choke point. One reason I think the U.S. military went after the Iranian Navy, it's been announced, basically sunk everything, every asset they have, was so that Iran cannot come out and mine the straits, which would be something that would be very difficult to overcome. So
by the way, the Iranians should have done that. I think the one mistake that the Iranians made is that they thought that they were special. Right. This is the mistake that I think a lot of it's a collection action problem. Everybody understands that the rich in America are the laziest, dumbest, greediest pieces of shit possible. But none of us want to make the first move. None of us want to be the high blade of grass. We all think we are special. We all have that solipsism of our subjective view. Right. And this includes myself. And Israel has been genociding and seizing land and attacking all the country. I mean, Iran has been attacked multiple times, so it's kind of embarrassing that they never reacted. But the first time if my nuclear sites were bombed, I mean, I'm sorry, I go and mine the strait the next day. You know, I am sailing out and I'm dropping mines out into the fucking Strait of Hormuz the next day. I mean, if I was the Iranian leadership, I would have built the fucking nuke. Now, that's just easier said than done, because the Iranians just pursued diplomacy with Obama. So for a while, the moderates and the diplomats, they seemed like it was working until Donald Trump came into power. And then you realized that paper shields are only as strong as the steel ready to back them up. I'm a merchant marine and I go through the strait a few times a year. The ships struck are due to dumbass companies forcing the captains to YOLO it because 150 million cargo is worth more than our lives. The strait belongs to Iran. They make the fucking rules. How stupid can people be? I mean, it doesn't even have to, they don't have to sink every ship. They just have to credibly make it incredibly risky. And so nobody wants to insure that shit. And who's going to want to go through it? And that's going to make everything so much more expensive. IRGC claims second U.S. THAAD system destroyed in UAE. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it struck and disabled a second U.S. THAAD missile defense system at Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE after a THAAD radar at Al Ruwawi's base in the UAE was destroyed a day earlier. The IRGC said the system was hit by precision missiles from its air force and taken out of service. Iran claims the strikes have restored its ability to penetrate regional missile defenses. The report, carried by RNA, has not been independently verified. So I guess we'll see. Obviously, the Iranians have a lot of interest in spreading the idea and the panic that involved from disabling these systems. So until there is, you know, it's going to be a while before we can have any kind of accurate information coming from the Middle East. Maritime insurers cancel war risk cover in Gulf as Iran conflict disturbs shipping. Thank you for your insurance premiums. We will no longer be covering risk of war. Thank you for paying all those premiums over the years. Psych! What do you think of John Curacao? John Curacao went to prison for exposing as a whistleblower. So I think of all the people to be famous from the CIA, probably the whistleblower guy is the least bad option, you know? So it is what it is. I think he whistleblew the torture program, right? Isn't that what he did? John Kier, isn't he? Like, did he go to prison for that? Yeah, he went to prison for exposing that we were torturing people. So I think here's what you need to do. There's a rule in my community, and this is something that if you don't agree with, you are dumber than dirt, and you should probably shut the fuck up forever. Okay. So this is a position. Wee woo. You're not allowed to disagree with the position. You're not allowed to disagree with me on this. If you disagree with me on this, shut the fuck up. All right. Wee woo. Are you ready? This is coming. This is an order from on high. All right. Not allowed to disagree. Whistleblowers are good. When people who are members of bad organizations come out and expose damaging information against that organization's interests, that's very good. And those people should be treated as beneficial and positive. All right. Are you ready? Are you good? That's it. Because I've heard people going out, oh my God, I can't believe you're supporting the former CIA agent. And I don't support him. I like the fact that he came out and exposed the CIA was doing torture. And the fact that he went to prison for that gives him a little bit more leeway, from my opinion. However, I always remember that he was a CIA agent. So his interests are he's not going to be like the communist guy. Okay. Like, but when he's talking about the bad shit the US did, I will believe that. Because his ass went to prison for it. But there's no such thing as ex-CIA. Although if you go to prison for 30 months, that's pretty bad. You know, like, I kind of give him a little bit more. He was convicted for exposing the CIA's enhanced interrogation program, having passed classified information to a reporter. Based. He's also from Pennsylvania, so he gets more credit. But still, he's not a socialist. He's not a left-winger. You know, like he's a CIA agent. It is what it is. You're allowed to recognize that good and bad things, right?
See tactically what Iran is trying to do. It is just everything they got. Yep. Drones, missiles, closing the strait. But so far, at least what we're seeing from the Gulf states is unity and actually more inclined to work with us against Iran. But it's early. We're in the third day of this.
It is, but that's a fascinating...
The stock market has bounced off of the bottom. It's now down 900.
Development worth watching over the next several days. Brett McGurk, great to see you. Thank you very much.
So there were no sirens, no warnings. Those are just some of the new details that we're learning today about the Iranian strike that killed 6 U.S. service members at a civilian port in Kuwait on Sunday. There's video showing smoke rising from a makeshift operations center where the service members were when the attack happened. You can see it there off in the distance. CNN's Zach Cohen has more on the details that are coming in about this tragedy. Zach, what are you learning?
Mike, did you see that U.S. troops were told the war in Iran is for the return of Jesus? Looks on my screen. U.S. troops were told Iran war is for return of Jesus.
Yeah, Kate, we're told that U.S. troops in Kuwait really had no time to protect themselves before what's been described as a makeshift operations center at that civilian port took a direct hit from a suspected Iranian drone strike. Now, this is part of the initial Iranian retaliatory strikes that we saw after the U.S. and Israel began their war with Iran. And as you mentioned, the death toll now on the U.S. side has risen to 6 in total after the remains of 2 additional U.S. service members were recovered. U.S. Central Command acknowledging the increasing death toll in a statement yesterday saying, quote, as of 4 p.m. Eastern, March 2nd, 6 U.S. service members have been killed in action. U.S. forces recently recovered the remains of 2 previously unaccounted for service members from a facility that was struck during Iran's initial attacks in the region. It goes on to say that the identities are being withheld while the families are notified. But look, this is a reminder of what Donald Trump warned in his initial video statement when the U.S.-Israeli operation first began, that he expected there to be U.S. casualties as a result, and we are seeing that number slowly increase. And it's interesting, too, because...
Chad, I'm seeing a clip from the United States, the leader of the United States, talking about about this war.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age, something new is happening.
And that is speculation on your part, or you have some evidence to that effect?
You know, I was asked the same question in 1986. I had written a book in which I had said that the way to deal with terrorist regimes, well, with terror, was to deal with the terrorist regimes. And the way to deal with the terrorist regimes, among other things, was to apply military force against them. The
way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get, and we've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect. The effect was we were told that there would be a contrary effect. First of all, people said that there would be tens of thousands of people streaming into Afghanistan, zealots who would be outraged by America's action, and this would produce a counter-reaction in the Arab world.
But I think you're not saying that when you take an action like we did in Afghanistan, we're going to see all the other countries just fold.
No, what we saw is something else. Be all, we saw everybody streaming out of Afghanistan. The second thing we saw is all the Arab countries and many Muslim countries trying to side with America, trying to be okay with America. The application of power is the most important thing in winning the war on terrorism. If I had to say, what are the three principles of winning the war on terror? It's like, what are the three principles of real estate, the three L's, location, location, location? The three principles of winning the war on terror are the three W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier. The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier too, but it may change the nature of achieving that victory. It may be possible to have implosions taking place. I don't guarantee it, Mr. Turney, but I think it makes it more likely. If you take...
I legitimately, I mean, listen, as much as I fought anti-Semitism for my entire career, the way that organizations that claim to speak for Jewish people are supporting this state and this leader is making anti-Semitism's growth a certainty. Until American and Jewish organizations distance themselves from the crimes going on in the Middle East, anti-Semitism will spike.
We're learning new details about where these U.S. service members were when this strike took place. It was described to us as a facility that was described as a triple-wide trailer with office space inside of it, and that after the strike there was fire still burning hours later. The walls were blown out. The inside of the facility, we're told, was completely blackened. So U.S. service members seem to have been caught off guard and by surprise by this Iranian retaliatory strike, and it's something that we do expect to see potentially more of as Iran continues to target U.S. military bases across the region.
By the way, chat, you know all those Kalshi ads you see? A bunch of insiders made bets on the start of the war and made hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I'm Contessa Brewer at CNBC. We're watching the prediction markets surrounding event contracts on Iran over the weekend as the U.S. military was striking targets in Iran and Iran was striking targets across the Middle East. The prediction markets did incredible volume. For instance, Kalshi volume was up 23% month over month, according to Piper Sandler. We also saw similar growth for Polymarket. And Polymarket trading in particular grabbed a lot of attention because at least half a dozen trades came in right before the U.S. struck Iran, hours before, saying, yes, there would be strikes on February 28th. They were big bets. There was one trader in particular who made an $87,000 wager and netted more than $500,000 on that particular question. What we heard was Democratic lawmakers coming back with scathing criticism. Chris Murphy of Connecticut called it insane and said he would be introducing legislation immediately to ban these kinds of trades, what he called profiting off of war or death. On Kalshi, we saw a completely different scenario unfolding. The question of when the Supreme Leader would leave office resolved because the Supreme Leader was killed. Now, in the fine print, Kalshi had clearly laid out that if he were killed, this would be a market that would resolve to no. But there was a lot of pushback, a lot of criticism, either because people thought the market should resolve differently. After all, if you're dead, you can't continue in office, or by people who said it was simply too confusing. They didn't understand the fine print. To be clear, it is illegal to offer an event contract on death or assassination in the United States. And Kalshi says it did not do that. It did not profit off of this question. Tarek, CEO and founder, took to X and posted not only an acknowledgement of all of the complaints that had come in, but he also said he was working to make it better, that they would do better in the future. He said it was confusing, that they're going to clarify that in the future, and he refunded all the fees and the net losses from traders who had taken part in that per question.
So why were those morons bailed out? Like, that's crazy.
Iran has continued to attack several areas right across the Gulf. Energy facilities have come under attack. Now, these are the energy facilities that have taken a hit. We've seen an oil refinery in Kuwait, one in Saudi Arabia. We've seen oil ports in Oman, the UAE, and facilities in Qatar that have taken a hit. Here's a look at what's happened in Saudi Arabia. An Iranian drone was intercepted at a major oil refinery. The concern is the falling debris and the damage that it can cause. So here's what's happened here. The Aramco Ras Tanura oil refinery had a fire. It was contained, but authorities decided to shut the biggest domestic oil refinery as a precaution. Now in Qatar, we're seeing two facilities that have also come under attack: the Ras Laffan oil refinery and the Maisid power plant. Now, Qatar Energy, the state-owned petroleum company, says it has stopped complete production of liquefied natural gas and other products because of these attacks. Now, this is important because it can have global ramifications when it comes to gas supplies. Qatar is one of the biggest producers of LNG, and it operates the biggest gas field along with Iran. This is North Dome South Pass, and this area closer to Qatar is what it operates. And this area closer to Iran is operated by Tehran. But there's no production happening right now. We also spoke of the oil tankers that have been hit on March 1st in the Strait of Hormuz, an important passageway. An oil tanker took a hit. There's a fire on board. People were injured. And another ship was hit in the Gulf of Oman. One person has been killed. Now, the US, 6 Arab and Gulf states have condemned the repeated Iranian drone and missile attacks. They've reaffirmed their right to self-defense.
Now Al Jazeera coverage is now questionable because with the attack happening on Qatar, they're now and Qatar fundamentally is a United States ally because, again, like everything else, they are part of the system of American imperialism. Meanwhile, Israel is attempting to expand the world war with attacking Beirut as well.
Conflict spread to Lebanon earlier when Iranian ally Hezbollah attacked Israel, and Israel responded with new rounds of airstrikes. Blasts have been echoing through the Lebanese capital in recent hours. Before this most recent bombardment, Lebanon's government said dozens of people had been killed. CNN's Matthew Chance with this report from Beirut.
Well, it's been a very intensive night with Israeli airstrikes pounding areas of this city of Beirut in the southern suburbs, which are known to be a Hezbollah stronghold. Elsewhere in the country as well, Israel carrying out various military operations targeting what it says are things like Hezbollah weapons storage facilities and command and control centers. But it's also hitting areas that are populated with ordinary people as well. And Lebanese authorities say over the course of the past 36 hours or so, as part of these very intensive Israeli strikes, several people, dozens of people, more than 50 in fact have been killed, more than 150 have been injured, and thousands have been forced to flee their homes, particularly in southern Lebanon, to areas out of the line of fire to relative safety. Some of them, in fact, have come here to Beirut, where it is a little bit safer than in the south. Now, there's been condemnation of Hezbollah from the Lebanese government. They're very concerned that this Iranian-backed militia, which has been a traditional and reliable...
Twitter is not usable now? I know, that's why they bought it. They bought Twitter because it used to be a place where you could get breaking news. It used to be a place where you could have discussions, but now it's absolutely full of... They have an AI that helps you generate misinformation and post it. They've created an incentive for engagement bait. They destroyed the social fabric of the website. They've created a terrible incentive for crap, for engagement bait. They basically make everything unreliable, and there is not legitimate, neutral sources of information. My Chud stepdad, who has a Trump tattoo, just asked if he could get a cover up. This was his red line because it's affecting him now. Wow, that's hilarious. Help him get the cover up immediately, because that's funny. Because later, if he tries to defend Trump, you can be like, you covered up your Trump tattoo. But get him in that chair immediately.
Proxy of Tehran.
And honestly, like, getting the cover up will make him psychologically defend the decision to get a cover up. If you want to persuade your stepdad more than any other action, making him get a tattoo cover up will make him unable to defend Trump again, because he'll have to go through the pain. He'll have gone through the pain of getting the cover up. And so he's psychologically, the human brain is a great rationalizer. There's a saying by Benjamin Franklin that I think about a lot, which is, if you want people to do a lot for you, make them do something small for you first. And that suggestion is basically, once you convince someone to invest, we all suffer from the cognitive problem known as sunk cost fallacy. So use sunk cost for your advantage. Get people to invest, and they will defend that investment, oftentimes with even more investment. That's manipulation. He's manipulating a Trump supporter. And by the way, I'm kidding. The guy said he wanted to cover up the Trump tattoo. So you're just helping him. And I'm telling you, you're going to get that benefit. The benefit is he's going to be more anti-Trump. I'm just predicting. I'm not suggesting. I'm just telling him what will happen psychologically, because I understand cognitive deficits of human beings. I've been trying to prove sunk cost fallacy is wrong for years. So far, haven't done it. I'm going to keep trying. It's so true. Graham went on Pod Save America. Graham Plattner. But okay, I thought Lindsey Graham went on. I was like, what the fuck? By the way, chat, Mike was right about Graham Plattner. I am the one who was like, if you're worried about the next John Fetterman, it's not Graham Plattner. It's Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. Kat Abu-Ghazaleh is the next John Fetterman. Don't get it twisted, okay? Like, it's obvious who it is. Because right now, war with China doesn't seem like a strong possibility, right? Like, all of us you look at that, what she says about Taiwan, and you're like, well, I don't think that's gonna come up, right? We used to think that about Fetterman being like a liberal Zionist. And we used to think that about a lot of liberal Zionists. We used to go like, well, they're better than what we have now. I think supporting Israel is cringe, but, it's not that relevant right now. It's the status quo has been going on, and people were just kind of complacent with the, by the way, intolerable status quo in Gaza and in West Bank. We had been lulled into a sense that the status quo was fine, right? Even though it wasn't. And that came around to bite us in the ass after October 7th. Because John Fetterman, because of his stroke, he doubled and tripled down on the Gaza issue. And then the left, we went after him, and he was continually buffeted by left-wing attacks until he became a right-winger. Kat Abu-Ghazaleh's position on Taiwan is the same. Right now, it doesn't seem relevant. Right now, it seems like a side issue that's not that important when you're talking about other issues, right? But she agrees with the American empire fighting a war against China. That is a position to the right of George Bush. That's a position to the right of Donald Trump. She's an insane person on Taiwan, and she can't defend the position. And that's exactly how Fetterman was about Israel. Graham Plattner is right about everything. Yeah, he had an embarrassing past, but his current positions are good and improving. Her past is bad as well, but because she's a rich white girl, you guys overlook it. And her current positions are bad. I'm sorry, but if you're worried about the next John Fetterman, it's Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. Because what if there is a crisis around Taiwan? She'll be there calling and begging for war, and then everybody will be like, well, we didn't see this coming. We didn't see this coming. What do you mean? Wow, I can't believe Kat. I thought she was a progressive. Meanwhile, she's barking like a John Bolton that we need to fight a war against China. Guys, that's John Fetterman coded. I know a lot of people were like, hey, she's exciting. She's a Palestinian, blah, 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 blah. But you don't see her. She's calling for arming Taiwan and fighting a war against China. You don't see her calling for a war against Israel and arming Palestinians. Why is that? Palestinians are being genocided. And she wants to arm Taiwan. Why isn't she arguing to arm Palestinians? She wants to arm Ukrainians. Why isn't she arguing to arm Palestinians? Because it's not about some sort of belief in self-determination. It is she's supporting the American empire, and she's using She's using pretextual arguments that she doesn't actually hold to. I know this is uncomfortable. I know this is not what you want to hear. I know it'd be way more profitable of me to say like, hey, you know, Kat's great, and go along with whatever social media grift is popping off. But I'm sorry, chat, I'm just not that guy. I never have been. I never have been. I've always said what is right, even when it's uncomfortable. If you don't like AOC, you are psychosexually obsessed with her. If you like Kat Abou-Ghazaleh, you are psychosexually obsessed with her. I'm sorry, but AOC is not arguing for war over Taiwan, and Kat Abou-Ghazaleh is. AOC is given a lot of shit, and people are weird, and they treat her differently than they do Bernie when she has the same position. I'm sorry, but there has to be an explanation for that. Wouldn't Kat be better for her current politics? No. We don't need to elect any more warmongers, man. Being a warmonger needs to be your red line, dude. Like, give me a fucking break. I can't say that, oh, she's young, she just needs to learn argument when she's on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Yeah, I mean, if you're running for Congress, you don't get to say I'm a small bean anymore. It's hard to see you being completely against her because it's called I Could See the Future, man. And somebody who says we should be more to the right of John Bolton on Taiwan is fucking insane and should never be allowed near power. Also, she was a Republican 5 minutes ago. Her parents are from Wall Street. She carpetbagged to primary one of the most progressive Democrats in Congress. Like, what are we doing here? It's not like she moved to a big Zionist and took on the Zionists. She moved to a progressive who supported Palestine in order to avoid AIPAC so she could get into Congress. I'm sorry, chat. That's grifter shit. What do you want me to say? She's against Medicare for all. What do you say to people defending her clarification video? They are either warmongers and imperialists themselves, or they did not understand what she was saying. All the worst people are against Graham Plattner. They're in favor of Kat Abou-Ghazaleh. Think about that for a second. All the evil centrist scum are saying Graham Plattner should drop out for going on a podcast. Those same people are posting about how base Kat Abou-Ghazaleh is. Are you stupid? Can you not see the op? Who's better for the district? The DSA recommended candidate. Like, that's running in the same district. Her policy on Medicare for all, she has the same policy as Pete Buttigieg. Medicare for all who want it. That's Pete Buttigieg. I'm sorry. War with Taiwan and Pete Buttigieg's healthcare policy is not a progressive. Also, she attacked Zoran for saying that globalized intifada is not anti-Semitic. So, like, I mean, at a certain point, like, what do you want me to say? Pretend she is someone she's not? That's your Fetterman. You're worried about John Fetterman? That's your Fetterman.
Is drawing Lebanon into the Iran war, something it desperately wants to avoid. It has taken the sort of unprecedented step.
I mean, Daniel Biss, the liberal Zionist running in the district, who's leading in the polls, he at least supports Medicare for all. Like, how do you get outflanked by him? Like, that's crazy.
Over the course of the past day or so, of formally...
I'm just going to leave this here.
When you're a power gay in Rehoboth, you get a special tour of the bombed out buildings of the missile attack last night with your sexy IDF soldier friend. What's your name?
Stav.
We know. Stav Cohen, IDF's finest. As we walk among the ruins and the broken glass of last night's missile attack, what do you think, Stav? Are you scared?
No, sir.
No, sir. Until then, we'll be safe and sound in our bomb shelters with our sexy IDF soldiers protecting us in this ever so holy Jewish nation.
Bro, are you trying to make people homophobic? Like, this is like far right jet fuel. Why are you injecting this into the internet? Please stop. I have to make some sophisticated intellectual argument for socialism, and you're injecting fascist jet fuel into the fucking timeline. Jesus Christ. Why don't you just give Nick Fuentes nitro?
Exploring Hezbollah military activity. Now, that sounds like a symbolic move, and it is, but it's also a potentially very risky one that could fuel tensions between Hezbollah and the army, the national army of Lebanon. So very tense, very difficult times here, as it seems that Lebanon is slowly getting drawn more and more into that Iran war.
Israel carries out simultaneous strikes in Tehran and Beirut. One high-rise building collapsed in southern Lebanon after an Israeli strike on Monday. In the capital of Beirut, streets were packed with people trying to flee the city as Israel targets Hezbollah forces in the country. Now, Israel's prime minister spoke to Fox News last night about this whole operation.
I hear the people are saying, well, you're going to have an endless war here. You're not going to have an endless war. This terror regime in Iran is the weakest point that it's been here since it hijacked Iran from the brave Iranian people 47 years ago. So this is going to be a quick and decisive action.
Joining us now live from Tel Aviv, CNN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Oren Lieberman. Oren, we are following right now the death tolls. What are you hearing out of Israel?
Audie, we're seeing an intensification on virtually all sides of this conflict here on day 4. President Donald Trump has promised a, quote, big wave attack is coming from the U.S. against Iran. America certainly still has the forces in the region, so we'll wait to see what comes. Frankly, what is a threat against the Iranian regime that is still in place here, although they've certainly lost their top leadership on day 4. Meanwhile, Israel has continued to strike targets in Tehran belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Intelligence Ministry, according to the Israel Defense Forces. They also say they've expanded air superiority across parts of Iran, which basically lets them do what they want. This as Iran lashes out with its remaining forces and its remaining capabilities against countries in the Gulf. And the State Department acknowledges that because of that, it is very difficult for American citizens who want to leave the Middle East right now, and that includes here in Israel. Meanwhile, we are seeing an escalation on the northern border of Israel as Israel has widened its campaign against Hezbollah. The Israeli military, that is, says it has seized more posts along the border between Israel and Lebanon. Keep in mind, Israel has held on effectively indefinitely at this point to 5 posts in southern Lebanon that it's used to look into the country. Israel now widening that in what it calls an enhanced defense posture as we see punishing strikes from Israel against Hezbollah in Beirut.
CNN's chief international security correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh is with us. Nick, thank you for being with us today as we're hearing more about this wave of attacks. Can you talk about the scale of it and how wide Iran's retaliation is sort of reaching across the region?
Yeah, it is extraordinary, it seems, how this Iranian retaliation has chosen to create more enemies for the already embattled autocracy in Tehran. Now, as of last night, 2 explosions at the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh. This morning, Oman, the country that tried to mediate between Iran and the United States until this conflict broke out, its Duqm port, an oil tanker targeted there. Americans told to shelter in place in Iran. Explosions in Bahrain.
Chat, breaking news. Apparently, Americans are told to leave the Middle East, but that it's their job to get out on their own. U.S. Embassy has just told Americans in Israel they must find their own way home. If you're an American in Israel looking for a way to leave the country, get a bus to Egypt, or if you must, to Jordan. But don't expect the United States Embassy to help. That's according to Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. In a lengthy post on X, Huckabee said the U.S. Embassy is directing all U.S. government employees and their family members in Israel to shelter in place until further notice as Iran fires missiles into the country. The U.S. Embassy is not in a position at this time to evacuate or directly assist Americans in departing Israel, he wrote, adding information about bus service as a courtesy as you make your own security plans. $1 trillion in military spending, and then they're telling Israelis that they're on their own. And honestly, based. The Israel Ministry of Tourism, he said, has began running shuttles to the Taba border crossing with Egypt. It requires prospective passengers to register via the ministry's evacuation form. Chat, this feels like they're trying to set up a false flag. It honest to God feels like a false flag. They're broadcasting where American Israelis are going into Egypt. Bro, they're begging for them to get killed. Passengers who wish to cross to Jordan, he said, Jordan? Going to Jordan? For American, he forgot an S, typoed. Amazing proofreading, by the way. For American who are currently in Israel, and I want to share this thorough but long update on options for departing. There are very limited options. As of now, the best is utilizing Israel's Ministry of Tourism. It feels like you're missing a word there. The best option is utilizing Israel's Ministry of Tourism shuttle bus to Taba, Egypt, and getting flights to Daba, Egypt, and getting flights from there and going on to Cairo for flights back to the U.S. I will give details of that option below. We are getting a lot of requests regarding evacuating from Israel from American citizens who are currently in Israel or who have family here. This is so poorly written. Is he illiterate? This is so fucking poorly written. He seems like illiterate. I do not recommend exit via Jordan at this time. Flights are not consistent and access across the Albany crossing has limited hours. All of our personnel from embassy. From embassy? I mean, I get, is that, again, it seems like you're missing an article from the embassy are sheltering in place. But I realize you may need to get people out and back home and not to continue to incur hotel costs. Can you use some periods? And? Can you use some fucking periods? Why is this sentence so fucking long? Why are there 5 clauses? I am adding what we are recommending for now. Why is this sentence here? Delete the sentence. What the fuck is the purpose of this sentence? He's a fucking illiterate. Not sure when Ben Gurion Airport at Tel Aviv will reopen. Hopefully soon. But even when it does, there will be very limited flights with priorities to those who are already ticketed by El Al. Doubtful that other airlines will fly in/out for a while. Guys, they're winning the war, guys. They're winning the war. Guys, they're winning the war. The Ministry of Tourism is operating buses to Taba. Didn't you already say this? You were talking about Taba before. Why did you mention Taba and then start talking about Taba again? Shouldn't this be the, like, what the fuck? Why are you splitting up the ideas? This paragraph should be like second. I will give options of that, details of that option. And then you did 3 paragraphs and then you did the details. What the fuck? Who wrote this? This is like reading the Epstein emails. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry for like talking about how illiterately this is like written, but this is like honestly an illiterate 9th grader. Like, what the fuck is happening? I don't think I ever wrote this poorly. Like when I was fucking 9 years old, I don't think I wrote this poorly. The Ministry of Tourism is operating buses to Taba. That crossing is further away, but it's open 24/7. There are some flights from Taba, but there are also options to get to Cairo, and it's operating normally except to Middle East countries. To get out, it's the best option for now. If not enrolled in STEP program, not already enrolled in STEP program, do so as you will be emailed updated information from the embassy and State Department. The State Department and State Department. What the fuck? He's illiterate. Jesus Christ. A link to STEP is at bottom of message. At bottom of message? Praying for your safe passage. And then we didn't really watch it, but the Huckabee Tucker Carlson interview was fucking insane. He was basically saying, yes, Americans should die for Israel. It looks like a secondary cook-off there. Something got hit. I'm pretty sure that most Arabs are in support of any damage being done to the United States and Israel. Like, I think that's why they don't poll. Why aren't they running any polls of Saudi Arabia? And why aren't they doing any polling of Bahrain? Where's all the we got so many pollsters out there. Why isn't Gallup polling doing some polling about in the Middle East? Why aren't they asking Arabs what they think of Americans? Why aren't they asking all these countries if they support Trump? Like, what's going on, guys? Where's the polling? Where's the self-determination? Pat, war in Taiwan now. Abu Ghazaleh is talking about self-determination. Where's all the self-determination in Saudi fucking Arabia, Kat? I don't think you dislike Kat Abu Ghazaleh enough. Oh no, chat.
Hey everybody, I wanted to say hi to all of the Hascord members and especially to all the regulators and monitors of this channel. Remember, come to our spy training on Monday. Just kidding. Although, if there was spy training on Monday, I think you would really enjoy it. When I first started spy training, I was married to my first wife, who knew nothing about the CIA. She was a ballet teacher. She hated that I worked at the CIA. Well, in spy training, one of the first things they taught us was to wear disguises. And I did a full day of training, got home at like 10:30 at night. I was tired, and so I didn't take my disguise off. So I go into the house. She's up watching TV with our son, who was like 3, I think, at the time. And when I came up to the top of the stairs and she saw me, she screamed the most blood-curdling scream, grabbed the phone, dialed 911, and I said, wait a minute, it's me. Get the fuck out of here! And then she hangs up the phone, she bursts into tears, and she says, either you quit this job, or I want a divorce. So, we got divorced. And anyway, I'm better off for it. So, hey, thanks for your support.
You're not better off. You went to prison, motherfucker. Bass ballet. Oh my God. John Carricow did not deserve her. She was a queen.
You enjoy the videos and the shorts and the clips and all that stuff, and I hope all is good with you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Holy shit, dude. That's crazy.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has threatened to set fire to any ships that try to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Brigadier General Ibrahim Jabari, advisor to the commander of the Revolutionary Guard, says it will not allow the U.S. access to any oil. Listen.
The price of oil's reached $81 and the world's certainly waiting for it to reach at least $200. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Our heroes in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Navy and the Army will set fire to any ships that try to pass through the strait. We'll also target their oil pipelines in the region, and we will not allow oil exports from this region until we put pressure on the enemy. The Americans have debts of hundreds of thousands of billions of dollars, and they're thirsty for the region's oil. They'll not get a single drop.
Well, as a result of all that turmoil around the Strait of Hormuz, stock markets in Europe are falling for a second day following declines in Asia. South Korea's benchmark.
Today was good. The issue was her statement reaffirming that she wants to end strategic ambiguity with Taiwan and commit to intervening military. I don't want World War III with China. She's the right of a lot of politicians. Plattner and AOC had far better answers. Wait, somebody's confused? Why Mike from PA is opposed to a politician that wants to fight war with China? Do you know who you're talking to?
Kospi index tumbled by as much as 6.4%. That briefly prompted regulators to halt trading by triggering a mechanism intended to prevent major market swings. European gas prices jumped more than 20% to the highest levels in 3 years. That's after Qatar state-owned energy firm halted liquefied natural gas production on Monday, citing Iranian missile attacks on its facilities. All right, let's go now to Katrina Yu, who's standing by.
By the way, chat, the stock market is not doing well. I thought I had a video for it. I guess I closed it. I was about to pull it up. Okay, we'll keep watching this.
For us in Beijing, and we also have Jack Barton for us in Seoul. So first to you, Jack, tell us how the markets have been responding since the opening today.
Selling off again right across Asia with falls in most stocks. Here in South Korea, it was, of course, the worst. It was a holiday yesterday, so in many ways, the Kospi playing at catch-up.
I will say this. I would say this. Stop talking to me about Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, because the more you try to talk to me about her, the more negative I'm going to get. And right now, I'm only talking about her on stream, but if necessary, I'll escalate more. You know what I mean? Like, basically, she's dead to me, but if you keep talking about her, I'm gonna make her I'm gonna make it more of an issue. You know what I mean? So if you like her, shut the fuck up about her.
But a massive fall, more than 7% by the end of the day. And as you mentioned before, at one point, there was an automatic circuit breaker brought in there after it hit 5% for more than a minute. But even after that temporary suspension was lifted, the shares just kept going down. Carriers, very hard hit. Korean Air's a 10% drop in share price. But we see energy providing companies, but even the big tech companies, Samsung Electronics, almost 10% fall. SK Hynix, more than 11%. They're the two big.
Go on, Kat. My cat is not perfect. So true.
Chip makers.
What if I dislike her and think you're going exactly as hard as you should on her? You should just nod your head, and anytime someone brings her up, talk about how she's an insane warmonger.
Kia Motors also fall.
Honestly, listen, I don't want to trash Kat, but let me say that her position is probably the most position of any politician the most dangerous position of any politician I've ever seen.
Falling more than 11%. So these are huge losses. And while we saw defense companies falling across most of Asia, here, Hanwha, the really big defense company, almost raised 20% in value. So a big gain there. But all of this because of what is happening in the Middle East, and particularly two elements today. U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement.
Is Kat the Chicago lady? No, she's from Tucson, Arizona. She moved to Chicago to challenge a pro-Palestinian rep who was older. So she's not from Chicago. She's from Tucson, Arizona.
announcement that this could go on 4 to 6 weeks. So really implying there is no end game, and this could just drag on, but also Iran officially closing the Strait of Hormuz, and this region so dependent on oil and gas coming through that strait. So more market turbulence expected. The South Korean government has put together an enormous fund that it can use in an emergency if the market keeps falling, but no one here doubting, talking to all the analysts here, this is going to have an impact one way or the other on the economy, on GDP, on central bank decision making, and of course on inflation.
Yeah, it seems like the markets are certainly expecting more war and higher fuel prices. Okay, Katrina, over to you in Beijing. What has been the impact felt thus far in Beijing and in China more broadly?
Trump live with German Chancellor in the Oval Office. Okay, let's hop over to that.
Like the same. It started.
Trump is now saying he wants to stop trade with
beautiful Oval Office,
Spain.
White House, special place. Even from your standpoint, and you have some very special places, and I look forward to being with you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Oval Office for the third time now. Opportunity, challenging time. We are on the same page, getting this regime away.
Wow, the Germans are warmongers. What a surprise. They love attacking Iran for Israel. Who could have predicted that?
About day and then I would like to be in as possible to talk about Ukraine and guys world, because we all want to see this at Ukraine interest. Well, we will talk about it.
We will.
Looking
indeed.
forward.
Thank you so much.
Hey, this volume sucks shit, so we're getting a different feed.
And nobody's really seen anything, right?
If they are out, we have to talk about our trade agreement, which I would like to be in place as soon as possible. And we have to talk about Ukraine. There are too many bad guys in this world, actually, and this is an issue we have to talk about because we all want to see this war coming to an end as soon as possible. But Ukraine has to preserve its territory and their security interests, and, well, we will talk about that.
Right. We will.
Looking
indeed.
forward to that.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you
That's some
for your
interesting.
hospitality. Thank you for letting me spending the night in your guest house.
That's right.
Very, very
good,
comfortable place.
You liked it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, great place. And a famous place.
That's
yeah.
good. Very
So
famous.
many former presidents.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very famous place. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out now. Their missile count is going way down. Amazingly, they're hitting countries that were, let's call them neutral, right? They lived together for a long time. I think they were surprised. I was surprised. And now those countries are all fighting.
Oh, by the way, Chad, I need to correct myself. Kat Abou-Ghazaleh didn't move from Tucson. She went to high school in Tucson. She was born in Dallas, where her family made a lot of money from real estate. But she was in D.C., and she moved to Chicago for the first time to challenge one of the most left-wing pro-Palestinian members because she was older. As far as I know, did she ever live in Chicago before moving there? Yeah, she had never lived in Chicago before moving to Chicago to run. And she decided to move to a district with one of the most left-wing representatives in Congress. The 20th most left-wing representative is who she primaried. So I really don't think she's legitimately I'm sorry, but what do you want me to say? You know what I mean? And by the way, the reason why she decided to primary the 20th most progressive member of Congress is because she knew that AIPAC would not spend to defend her. So she's older. I'm not saying she's not older, but she did. By the way, anyone saying she was retiring, you're lying. Jan did not say she was retiring until after Kat moved to her district and announced she was primarying her. You guys just don't know what, the chronological passage of time. Now, this is inconvenient for Kat because she didn't think anybody would figure this shit out and tell you. There's a reason why she's not, all of her shit is social media. It's all airdropping. She's not like an organic organizer in Chicago or some shit. She moved there. She picked a district where she thought she might be able to squeak in and not have to face AIPAC money in the primary. Now, AIPAC is going to spend against her anyway, but that's because Jan dropped out. Jan wasn't supposed to drop out. Supposed to be a young, social media savvy person running against an old progressive. That was the whole strategy.
Against them and fighting strongly against them. Someday they'll write a story and they'll say why they did that, but they hit.
If you took all the people who were trying to argue with you about Kat being great, it wouldn't hold a match to all the goodbye messages I saw from Kat campaigners in her Discord. They need to stop arguing with you and dialing those phones and knocking doors. Oh yeah, definitely. War with China. Kat Abou-Ghazaleh. Oh man, it's so funny. So many people went after AOC for Munich, and her comments in Munich were so much better than Kat Abou-Ghazaleh's foreign policy. It's not even funny. The funniest type of people are the anti-AOC, pro-Kat Abou-Ghazaleh people. You people are dumb. Social media brain rot. Mike, I'm not arguing with you about Kat. She's irrelevant now. Mike, there's so much more I could do this stream. You're speaking to your chat, doesn't know what's going on. Try to shut me up from talking to you. Bro, I disagree with you about Kat. Somebody has to speak out against this opportunism, right? Somebody has to speak out against the opportunism. What do you want me to say? Is everyone else is going to be quiet about it because it's not good for their social media. I just don't give a fuck.
Countries that had nothing to do with what's going on, they were sort of leaving everything alone.
All right, we're going to move on from Kat. We're going to move on from Kat, as should everybody else. There's a million people that are so much better running for Congress that you can support.
Sudden they had missiles shot in, which shows you the level of evil that we're dealing with. They'll hit people that were actually...
I'm glad I didn't have her on. I am so glad I didn't have her on. Holy shit, am I glad. Because I would have been interested in trying to help her. My mental space, I didn't know about the Taiwan shit. It would have been a huge L for me because I would have had to reverse myself. Thank God I didn't have her on. Holy shit.
At least somewhat friendly, and they had no problems with it. Also hitting only civilian places, hotels and apartment buildings, and we're hitting them where it is much more appropriate. We're hitting them very hard. And
Israel just leveled all of Gaza, and they're trying to pretend like Iran's response to their leader being assassinated is violating international law. These guys are the fakest fucking warmonger losers of all time. You know what would be a proportional response? Do you guys understand what would be a proportional response to Khomeini, the head of state of Iran, being assassinated? Do you know what a proportional response would be to that? Use your imagination.
The big scale hitting goes now. They no longer have air protection. They no longer have any detection facilities at all left. And so they're gonna be in for a lot of hurt. These are bad people. These are people that killed. I guess it's 35,000. It's coming out 35,000 over the last 3 weeks. Protesters, 35,000 violently killed. So these are bad people, and the leader of the pack is gone. And as you know, 49 people were taken out in the first hit, and I guess there was another hit today on the new leadership, and it looks like that was pretty substantial also. So they're getting hit very hard, and we'll see what happens. A lot of people are coming forward. A lot of the people you would least suspect want to quit. They want to have immunity. They're asking for immunity. And probably at some point they'll be dropping, as you would say, laying down their guns. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, we're just continuing to go forward. Our military is the #1 in the world by far. And we are, everything's big in my book. Venezuela was big. This is big. The original hit, Midnight Hammer, was big. Everything you view is big, but it's not considered very big by some standards, by some of our standards. We have a military like no other military that's ever been built.
Mr. President, what's the worst case scenario that you have planned for in Iran?
Well, I don't know if there's a worst case. We have them very much beaten militarily from the military standpoint. They're still lobbing some missiles. At some point, they won't even be able to do that because we're hitting all of their carriers. We're hitting all of their missile stock. You know, they built up all these missiles over the last few years. They had a lot of them. They've shot a lot of them, and we're knocking out a lot.
The problem is that the United States is open presents. Thanks for the 100 gifted. The problem is that the United States of America, the defense interceptors are a lot more complicated and a lot more expensive than the Iranian attack missiles. To create a ballistic missile, Austin is calling me. Austin, I'm fucking live. Oh my jeez. Austin Show. I'm live.
So am I. Mike from PA, it's Austin Show from the Fear and Podcast.
Okay. Hello, Austin Show from the Fear and Podcast.
Thank you for your endorsement for me running for governor of California.
Okay, first of all, can we not run for governor?
Oh, okay.
How about Representative Austin?
Are you telling me that I'm not equipped to be governor yet?
No, you're not. You're not. With all due respect.
Okay.
Do you understand how expensive it is to run for California governor?
Yeah, but I was thinking about running a grassroots campaign.
Let's run a grassroots campaign for Congress and you'll win. And it would be fucking awesome.
Win? Do you think I could win in Congress I mean, maybe I don't live in, well, I could move to California.
Okay, first of all, like, you know, listen, you need to settle down. That's number one. You know, that's number one.
Like get to California is what you're saying?
Pick a place you want to live. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I have to live in California first.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it might even be illegal. Yeah, you have to live in the state that you're running.
Okay, well that makes sense. I mean, the taxes, my God. It's okay though.
We can pick somewhere else, you know, like, you know.
That's what I'll be. Yeah. Well, taxes are great. Honestly, I love them. They are.
You want to raise taxes on the rich, like yourself.
Of course. Yeah. No. Because here's the deal, Mike. I am very privileged in my position, and I've never understood it. An increase in my taxes, my lifestyle doesn't change. Nothing about my life changes at all. But you know whose life does change with a tax increase? The people that are living paycheck to paycheck.
So true.
To survive.
So
can't
true.
Afford housing. Can't afford education. Don't have access to health care. Those be affected in a positive way if I get a tax hike.
Okay, the next thing you don't want to fight a war with China, do you?
Absolutely not.
Okay, great. Now we're talking. Okay, no war with China. This is hard. This is a high bar for many progressives. Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of fighting for.
So true. Wow, this is, guys. Is this? I mean, sounds like a good politician to me. The thing about it, Austin, in all seriousness,
Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why do we have trillions and trillions of dollars pay for military conflicts that countries, but we don't have the money to provide a basic standard of living for our citizens, basic health care, education? Why is that, Mike?
On Earth. Is this a rhetorical or actual question?
No, it's a rhetorical.
Okay, good. Well, okay.
It's a rhetorical question. I'm just practicing.
Yeah, no, this is great. We'll work on the stump speech, honestly, and it's going to be so funny because, as you probably know, I'm a leading advocate for the Congress run.
Oh, yes, Caroline Kwong.
Yeah, that's right.
Congress.
And I think both of you should be in D.C. You know, I think once you get in there, she's going to have FOMO.
I tell you what, I'm going to be in there, and let me tell you something. Like, I have never taken a donation from AIPAC or JPAC ever.
Well, that's because you never ran for anything. But that's a good point.
But it's still, I know I've never ran for anything, but I've never taken any donations from it. That stands true.
And you never will. That's right. Okay. This is good.
I never will.
This is great. Guys, we have found ourselves, you know, in these trying times, there is a silver lining, which is we have a Lebanese man.
Yes,
that's gay.
Lebanese.
You know, which you know, we repeat ourselves, right? Like, you know, well, all we need you to do is settle down. So I know it's tough for you as a cosmopolitan. You know, the one problem about being a politician is you have to pick somewhere to represent.
I know. I can't be.
You know.
I can't be coastal.
Yeah. You have. You know.
By New York.
Right. I mean, you could pick New York. You just gotta, let me know so we can pick the district, right?
But the thing is, Mike, is like my Republican and Democrat counterparts can't really attack me for being bougie because they're in the pocket of billionaires. So, like, what the fuck are they gonna say? You know what I mean? God forbid I like to stay at a nice hotel once in a while, right, Mike?
Listen, don't make me defend your spending habits. Okay. I'm sure your accountant is yelling at me, right? He's saying, no, you're not going to be young and beautiful forever. You got to retire one day.
All right, Mike, I just wanted to thank you for your endorsement for Congress.
All right. Well, we have the floating rep, the United States at large rep, Austin Show. Everybody clap.
That's right. That's right.
And say free Palestine for me before you go.
Yeah, free Palestine. Fuck yeah. That's the easiest thing I could ever say. Free Palestine!
All right, Austin. I'll see you soon. We'll grab a dinner. See you, bud.
Bye.
All right, chat. Well, there you go. Austin Show announcing his run for Congress. District to be determined later. Now, if you're laughing and you're going, Mike, you can't do that. Kat Abou-Ghazaleh did that. What's wrong with us doing it? Except actually having a good candidate. We'll actually pick a Zionist to run against as opposed to someone really good. Gotta clip that Austin Show Free Palestine sound bit? Absolutely. It's gonna be on the soundboard. We're gonna be on the soundboard. All right. Can we go back to the horrifying war of aggression that the United States and now Germany are supporting as the stock markets crash?
I guess the worst case would be we do this and then somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person, right? That could happen. We don't want that to happen. That would probably be the worst you go
I'm
through.
so proud of how far Austin has come along. I want to take partial credit. Obviously, Austin is a friend of Hassan, but he's also my friend. And we've been having those conversations offline and in person. And it's really been impressive to see how he is legitimately an intellectually honest person. And I've disagreed with him. If you guys remember, during the 2024 presidential election, we had a debate and I talked to him about our predictions and I gave him electoral analysis. And every single thing I said in those conversations turned out to be true. And you know what Austin did that night? He said, you know what, Mike, you were right about everything. And for me, that shows strength of character, because if you're willing to say Mike is right, then you're a good person. Am I right, Chad? Am I right? No, in all seriousness. Antifa is by the way, an incredible name. This may be my new, of all the Hassanabi head names, this is such a good name. Antifa. Fuck, that's a good name. You need to @ Hassan until he acknowledges you, because that name is so good. You were wrong about the hot tub stream. No, I'm not. I just have to not look like a olive with 4 toothpicks in it before I go into a fucking hot tub on a stream. You know what I mean? All right, let's keep going.
This, and then in 5 years you realize you put somebody in who was no better. So I'd like to see somebody in there that's going to bring it back for the people. And we'll see what
Dr.
happens with the
Eggman
people.
body, exactly.
They have their chance, and we've said don't do it yet. If you're going to go out and protest, don't do it yet. It's very dangerous out there. A lot of bombs are being dropped. But I would say that would be about the worst.
Do you have someone in mind right now? Because you said all the people you did have in mind have been taken out. What do you think?
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you'll have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody. But we have, Venezuela was so incredible because we did the attack and we kept government totally intact. And we have Delcy, who's been very good. We have the whole chain of command, and they've been, look, the relationship's been great. We've taken out 100 million barrels of oil already. And a big part of that goes to them, and a big part goes to us. And it's been great. We paid for the war many times over, and we're going to be running the oil. And Venezuela is going to make more money than they ever made, and that's great for the people. The relationship has been great. It's been seamless. Nobody's actually ever seen anything like it. If you look at Iraq, where very stupidly everybody was fired, the generals were fired, the military was fired, the police were fired, the fire departments were fired, and all of the government workers were fired. So after, people would call, they had no idea. And by the way, ISIS was formed. That's where ISIS came from. All of the fired people. We don't believe in that. So we'll see what happens.
He's saying de-Baathification was a mistake. When we take over Iran, all the IRGC guys, they'll stay in power, but they'll be selling us their oil for cheap, which is all I really care about. We're going to steal their oil, and they're going to be able to keep the IRGC is going to stay in power. They're just going to be selling us the oil for cheap and less oil for Russia, and China. That's all he wants. And America and people defend the American empire as if it supports self-determination. That is the biggest lie that those faux progressive scumbags. America is not a force for good in the world anymore. This is not 1945. Stop watching World War II movies and thinking we are the good guys. We have not been the good guys since 1945. And it's not because Americans are not good. It's because our political class is full of pedophilic corporate billionaires, and they're stealing money hand over fist from everywhere in the world. That's the reality. I want America to invest in making American lives better. We were good in 1945, yes.
But first we have to finish off
until we nuked Japan. That was the end of the good part. Nuking civilians was pretty bad.
I guess he has some people like him, and we haven't been thinking about too much about that. It would seem to me that somebody from within maybe would be more appropriate. I've said that. He looks like a very nice person, but it would seem to me that somebody that's there, that's currently popular, if there's such a person. But we have people like that. We have people that were more moderate. These were radical lunatics, and you know what they get? They get nothing. All they do is kill people.
Mr. President, what exactly was the imminent threat, Mr. President?
Not your turn. Not your turn, please.
Mr. President, are you going to take the heat off the Europeans to potentially help you? Mark Rutte called on the allies to also help you.
What does that mean?
Well, you have to ask Mark Rutte. He said not as part of NATO, but to be helpful to you in this.
Well, some of the European nations have been helpful, and some haven't, and I'm, very surprised. Germany's been great; he's been terrific. Others have been very good, terrific. I think that the head of NATO, Mark, is fantastic.
By the way, NATO is they love this war. Oh God, I don't have the clip. Someone could find it to me. But the head of NATO was like gushing with how much they love the war in Iran. If you are a progressive NATO defender or whatever, if you are Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, how do you, and by the way, chat, I'm going to continue to use Kat Abu-Ghazaleh as an example of the type of politics that I'm against. All right. You cannot pretend that America is the good guy in Ukraine or Taiwan or anywhere else. The same logic that made America attack Iran and support a genocide in Gaza is the same logic that will cause us to fight a war with China that would kill millions. It is something that cannot be tolerated on the left side of the aisle. Like your mods and people aren't open to free discussion. They want you to cancel me. They just disagree with you about me not mentioning Kat. I'm sorry, but the thing about me and that everybody should understand, when you come into my stream, there is no way for you to change my mind but through logical argument. Just be aware of that. If you want to change my mind, present your arguments with facts and logic and evidence. That's the only way to change my mind. There's no other way to pressure me. Also, the other thing is you cannot control my content. I will do what I want when I want. And that's just the way it's always been. So, and every good streamer is the same way. It's impossible to get me to do what I don't want to do. I mean, that's why I'm a big streamer, because I don't allow myself to become audience captured. It is what it is.
Okay. Mark Rutte. I think he's fantastic. But some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it. Germany.
No, Mike, I'm wrong. What am I wrong about? talking about Kat Abu-Ghazaleh in the context of talking about the war? Okay, well, I'm gonna keep doing that, so I don't know what to tell you.
Everybody, and Spain didn't do it, and now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to. But they were unfriendly, and so I told him we don't want to. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't.
I think the main thing that we need to focus on, like, you know, the war with Iran is very concerning because until there is a serious economic shock that is America suffers. I mean, I think that everyone doesn't understanding Donald Trump is very simple. If you give him consequences for his actions, he folds. So it is in Iran's interest to cause as much damage as they can if they want the war to end. Donald Trump is not somebody who's going, like, you have to escalate against Donald Trump. You have to show that you have the ability to resist Donald Trump. If you want to be respected, that is the only way. What's Trump's beef with Spain? Spain has declared they will not allow American refueling planes out of bases in Spain for the war on Iran.
Don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
What is the expectation towards...
And I'm not, by the way, I'm not happy with the UK either. That island that you read about, the lease, okay, he made it for whatever reason, he made a lease of the island. Somebody came and took it away from him.
The socialist government of Spain has said they denied U.S. permission to use jointly operated bases to attack Iran. Refusal to allow use of bases in Rota and Moran follows Pedro Sanchez's condemnation of U.S.-Israeli action. Spain has denied the U.S. permission to use jointly operated military bases on its territory to attack Iran as Madrid stepped up its criticisms of the unjustified and dangerous military intervention. Spain's socialist prime minister, Pedro Sanchez, has explicitly condemned the U.S. and Israel's unilateral military action against Iran, warning that it is contributing to a more hostile and uncertain international order. The rebukes have been reinforced by his government's refusal to allow the U.S. to use bases in Rota and Moran for the continuing strikes against Iran. Spain's foreign minister said on Monday that while the government wanted democracy, freedom, and fundamental rights for the Iranian people, it would on no account allow its bases to be used in the ongoing military action. I want to be very clear and very plain. The bases are not being used, nor will they be used for anything that is not in agreement with the U.S., nor for anything that isn't covered by the United Nations Charter. The defense minister, Margarita Robles, was similarly emphatic, stating neither of the bases had been used in the U.S. military operation. There is a deal with the U.S. over these bases, but our understanding of the deal is that operations have to comply with international legal frameworks and that there has to be international support for them, she told reporters. Maps compiled by the flight tracking software Flight Radar 24 showed 15 U.S. aircraft had left Rota and Moran since the U.S. and Israel began their attacks over the weekend. At least 7 of the planes were shown to have landed at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. U.S. defense officials declined to comment on the reasons for the departures. On Saturday, Sanchez said Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu's offensive was making the world less stable and called for a lasting political solution to the conflict. Today, more than ever, it is vital to remember that you can be against a hateful regime as Spanish society as a whole when it comes to the Iranian regime, and at the same time against an unjustified and dangerous military intervention that is outside international law, he said. Sanchez's blunt condemnations are unlikely to endear him to Trump, who last year tore into Spain for refusing to accept NATO's proposal for member states to increase their defense spending to 5% of GDP. But the Spanish prime minister's comments are in keeping with his status as one of Europe's most outspoken leaders. Sanchez has been among the most vocal European critics of both Israel's war in Gaza and the EU's response to it. Other European leaders have sought to hedge their bets over Trump's latest attempt to secure regime change abroad. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer did not initially allow U.S. forces to use Diego Garcia or any UK air bases because of doubts about the legality of the strikes. But he changed his position on Sunday after Iran launched a wave of retaliatory missile and drone attacks on targets across the Middle East, one of which hit a UK air base in Cyprus. So in other words, we're going to let you attack Iran unprovoked, and then when Iran retaliates against the bases that were used to attack it, the UK is going to allow Trump to attack Iran? Pathetic. Which reminds me, chat, I wanna bring you guys to this story, which was pretty crazy. Which is that U.S. troops were told Iran war is for Armageddon, return of Jesus. Now, this is not saying that Benjamin Netanyahu is Jesus, but rather the Christian fundamentalist sense of the return of Jesus is they believe that Jews must return to Israel, which will set up a war against Gog and Magog, or whatever the fuck. What is it again? Hold on. It's like the Christian Zionist version of Armageddon. I want to explain this to you, chat. This is what Huckabee is trying to explain.
Thomas Morton joined a group of born-again Christians as they toured the Holy Land and found out the real reason why they support Israel. This is his debrief.
Evangelicals believe for the apocalypse to start that Israel must be entirely Jewish, or just entirely under Jewish control. So the problem right now is that half of Israel, as they see it, half of the Israeli state is the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It's Palestinian territory. So they want that all put back under Jewish/Israeli control, and then the Antichrist will come and Jesus will kick his ass, and then everything's good. They don't want necessarily Jews to move there. They want the Jews who are there to kick out the Arabs who live there. The answer is no. No Jew that we met in Israel who was taking money from the evangelicals seemed to care at all that they were giving them the money, basically under the pretense that it was going to end in either their fiery destruction or conversion to Christianity. The nice lady at the settlement who does a lot of business with the Christian evangelical tour groups and gets a lot of support from them for her settlement projects, even clarified to a group that we were with that there's a very strict, kind of like no conversion policy. But basically it's like, you guys believe your thing, we believe ours. Everything that Irvin Baxter describes is in the Bible. Most of it is in the book of Revelation. Some of it's in some weird chapters like Elijah and stuff. What a lot of Christians who aren't really on board with him on the ground, especially Palestinian Christians, like to talk to us about is that there's kind of a point to the Bible, and the way he's got this cool, like, sort of apocalyptic action movie sequence out of the Bible is basically by cherry picking.
Oh, God!
The best elements. Sort of like, I don't know, I would do the same thing in Sunday school where you just read the good parts or the juicy parts of the Bible. And there's an entire genre of Christian cinema and books that kind of cater to this need that people have called like apocalypse lit. The Left Behind series are like the best examples, where it just starts with the rapture, and then the whole book series is basically just action-adventure novels and movie adaptations for what happens when Satan takes over the earth, and Jesus has to fight him with his crazy mental weapons. The evangelical tour group we were with made no stops in Palestinian territories. They stayed in Israel. They went to Armageddon, Sea of Galilee, stuff in Jerusalem, all of which is pretty firmly in Israeli territory. And from what we gathered, most other Christian groups stayed on a similar path, which is kind of weird because one of the biggest Christian landmarks in Israel is Bethlehem. It's the place where Jesus was born, and that's, smack in the heart of the West Bank. And it's not even just, there are some sites that they've kind of created little weird security fences around, so you can go from Israel to the site without necessarily crossing into full-on Palestinian territory, but the Church of the Nativity, where Jesus was born, is like in Palestine. There's a falafel shop across the street, you have to go through the whole security deal. And the real question is whether, these Christian groups avoid this because it's difficult, having to cross a weird conflicted border with a whole bus full of old ladies, and then you have to do it on the way back and stuff too, and whether it's just a logistical thing, or whether they're trying to avoid the question of we're giving all this money to Israel, what are the Israelis doing with it to these Palestinians?
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been the focal point of geopolitical instability in the Middle East since the establishment of Israel.
And this is basically why it's happening, chat, because, so a combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. From Saturday morning through Monday night, more than 110 similar complaints about commanders in every branch of the military had been logged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. The complaints came from more than 40 different units spread across at least 30 military installations. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation is keeping the complainants anonymous to prevent retribution by the Defense Department. The Pentagon did not immediately respond to my request for comment. One complainant identified themselves as a non-commissioned officer in a unit currently outside the Iran combat zone, but in ready support status, deployable at any time. The NCO said they were Christian, but emailed the MRFF on behalf of 15 troops, at least 11 Christians, 1 Muslim, and 1 Jew. The NCO wrote that to the MRFF that their commander urged us to tell our troops that it was all part of God's divine plan, and that he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. This is military commanders, and this is what these religious fundamentalists in America are saying.
Of all wars, let's say that before we leave this building, the trump of God sounds and the rapture happens. We're gone. In the twinkling of an eye, we're just simply not here. We stand before God the Father.
What I always found funny about Christian fundamentalism is they invented the rapture like 150 years ago. It didn't exist. They just made it up. And what's so funny about it is it's never going to happen because obviously the rapture is completely made up by Americans. So how can we have the battle of the Armageddon before the rapture? It's like they're creating the conditions for this war, but none of them are being disappeared. You guys are all supposed to be God. What happened? Where's the rapture?
And we give an account of our lives. And based on the account of our lives determines what we wear.
Can you guys imagine if every evangelical suddenly was deleted? Like they all disappeared? And how that would usher in a new era of utter prosperity all across the world. It would be peace on earth. That's like every demonic, evil, greedy warmonger on earth disappearing. That is the basis of all right-wing politics throughout the Christian world. It's based on these people. If they all disappeared in the twinkling of an eye, it would be a new golden age of humanity. Technically, it was invented by a Brit, but definitely propagated in the US. Well, yeah, it was invented by a Brit, but no one in the UK. It didn't become popular in the UK. It became popular in the US.
There's a crown and what our robe looks like. The Bible says the robe represents the righteous acts of the saints. At the end of 7 years, the second coming will happen. Jesus Christ and all of the body of Christ will leave the balconies of heaven and come to Jerusalem, mounted on white horses. There will be the Battle of Armageddon, a battlefield that Napoleon said is the greatest battlefield in the history of the world. Jesus Christ is going to sweep over that battlefield and to annihilate that army of 200 million people. The blood will flow to the bridle of a horse. Then Jesus will go to Petra and release the Jewish people who have been liberated from the Antichrist. He will set up his kingdom in Jerusalem. The Antichrist takes a deep breath and he receives terrifying news that a marching army is marching down the Euphrates. By an act of God, the mighty Euphrates River has dried up, and that marching army of 200 million is walking across the dry riverbed to fight the Antichrist for global control. Just about that time, the Antichrist and his army is about to attack Israel and Jerusalem. The massive 200 million men army invades. As these two military armies come together, there's another invasion, not from the north, the south, the east, or the west, but from heaven. Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, leads his army, the church triumphant, to annihilate those who've desired to attack Israel. This is going to be the mother of all wars.
This is what they believe. And this is not just some random preacher. This is probably one of the most prominent Christian fundamentalists in America. This is probably one of the most influential Christians in the Republican Party. This is not a joke. This is not a small guy. This guy has tens of millions of people that follow him. If you're not from the South, if you're not American, you may not understand that this is the heart and soul of the Republican Party. He has been deeply involved with the Republican Party. On February 7th, 2006, Hagee and 400 leaders from across Christian and Jewish communities formed Christians United for Israel. This lobbies members of the United States Congress using a biblical stance for promotion Christian Zionism. Around that time, he would receive death threats for his activism on behalf of the state of Israel and hired bodyguards for protection. Oh, you don't say. He endorsed John McCain. Hagee's theological views sit within a particular strand of dispensationalism found in American evangelicalism that includes the influence of apocalypticism. He is a fundamentalist whose views on eschatology lead him to a belief that the end of the world is imminent and that the return of Christ will be preceded by a secret rapture of the church who will be taken into heaven, leaving behind everyone else to suffer for a period of 7 years prior to the Battle of Armageddon, which will be fought and won by Christ, who will then create a new earth which he will rule over for 1,000 years. As such, Hagee specifically denies that his views on subjects such as Zionism and support for the state of Israel derive from his eschatology, although commentators have remarked his dispensationalists such as Hagee appear to welcome the prospect of war between Israel and Iran, since this would herald the predicted final confrontation. This is what they're trying to bring about. They are trying to bring this out. That's what they're doing. Now, obviously, Donald Trump is incredibly, you're not helpless. Wake up. You're telling me in the chat I'm wrong. People telling me that I need to take my meds. Guys, just stop adding open presents. Leave the guy. He wants me to talk about this. I'm already talking about it, but my alarm is justified. The possibility of nuclear war. Well, to have a nuclear war, there needs to be two sides that are firing nukes, bro. Iran doesn't have nukes. So luckily, it seems that we're unlikely to have a nuclear war because Iran doesn't have nukes. But they certainly would welcome it because they're insane, which is what I'm trying to explain. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has enshrined evangelical Christianity at the uppermost levels of the U.S. military, airing monthly prayer meetings throughout the Pentagon. This is the shit that's going on in the Pentagon. And by the way, this is how they determined who the fascists are from the non-fascists. Because if you're a secular, professional, non-evangelical military general or leader and you refuse to play along with their prayer meeting, they understand that you're probably not in favor of the fascist overthrow. So this is a way of politically vetting the highest reaches of the Pentagon for pro-Trump cultists. This is incredibly dangerous, and the Democrats are doing and saying nothing about it. Kash Patel gutted U.S. FBI counterintelligence team tasked with tracking Iranian threats days before U.S. strikes, sources say. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they just hanged a banner to Charlie Kirk at the U.S. Department of Education. It's fucking insane. This just happened. 250 years of academic excellence. Charlie Kirk has been hung from the Department of Education. The guy never graduated college. I don't think he ever attended college in person. Maybe he took some online courses. Somebody said he left a giant mark on Utah. Not really. Not really. It was nothing more than a dribble. Not really. He's more of a source of mockery. I mean, if I went to TikTok and I searched Charlie Kirk, like, it's this shit.
So, bro, you got a charger? My phone dead. I don't have a charger.
This is the shit that this is the impact of Charlie Kirk.
1, 2, 3, 4. We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. 1.
Oh no, swear to God, I didn't know more. So don't wanna die, yeah, when you so don't wanna die. Oh no.
We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. We'll fight for the gospel. We.
Bro, last year, the Pentagon confirmed to me that Hegseth attends a weekly White House Bible study. It's led by a preacher who says God commands America to support Israel. If you're a longtime Mike from PA head, you know about Donald Trump's spiritual advisor. Trying to find her name is White Cane. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, I didn't even know her name was White Cane. Oh my God, it's like we're in a terrible pulp novel.
Wherever I go, God rules. When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds. I had every every right and authority to declare the White House as holy ground because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. And I won't do that.
We are in a spiritual war right now. Let every demonic network that has aligned itself against the purpose, against the calling of President Trump, let it be broken, let it be torn down in the name of Jesus. You want me to tell you what my thoughts are? The thoughts of the King of Kings, the thoughts of the Lord of Lords. I'm downloading heaven. Hey! I kind of know I'm a little bit cute, all right? I am Paula, who is pretty. Well, maybe I'm not going to be pretty when I'm 90 years old.
Here's this former messed up Mississippi girl, lived in a trailer that they called trailer trash. Daddy committed suicide, got pregnant out of wedlock, been married, been divorced, not just once, twice.
People go, well, how'd you become the spiritual advisor of the president? We'll get to that later. It's all in there. Michael Jackson, Kid Rock, the president, it's all in there, all right?
Thank you, Paula. What a great job you do. The evangelicals. I hear we're more popular than ever with the evangelicals. You're the only one, and she'll tell the truth. She'll only tell the truth.
Southern California is looking at there's already law that's passed through the governor that says the Bible is a book of hate speech and to ban the sale of it. Snapchat was created as the largest human trafficking because the greatest people on there were human traffickers because the FBI and because intelligence could not do it because it's live and it's real time and they can track your kid in less than a second and take them.
There's a Department of Treasury in heaven that God is watching over everything you do, and you are storing up eternal treasure that will go so far beyond, I think, that we can even begin to imagine. You need to send in $3,500. You need to send in $35,000. You need to send in that $100,000 check. If you do not write that P.O. box and you do not call that toll-free number and you do not become a ministry of sustainer, you will never see sustainment in your life, and your dream will die, your call will die.
These are the people that are leading prayer meetings in the White House, calling for Armageddon and attacking Iran. This is literally who is running the country. This is the nation that we have. Everything is a grift. Everything is fake. Everything's false. And they're literally trying to cause a world war to keep taxes on the rich low. Somebody said, brother, your country is cooked beyond belief. My country? Your country is a fucking cook to my country. If you're European, if you're Japanese, if you're South Korean, if you're in Taiwan, if you're Australia, if you're in fucking South Africa, if you are in New Zealand, you are a cuck to this fucking country. You do everything we fucking say. You suck our fucking dicks. If you're a Canadian, you do everything we say. You're helping us do it. What do you mean our country? Your fucking country. You're part of the problem, motherfucker. None of you are standing up to Trump. Not one of you. You're helping him, except Spain. Spain is saying you can't use our bases. Thank fucking God. One country is saying anything. Get off your fucking ass. If you're in the UK, go join the Green Party right fucking now. If you're in the UK, join the fucking Green Party right fucking now. Mark Carney is helping. He's supporting the Iranian fucking strikes. What are you talking about? Mark Carney is a fucking cuck too. I'm sorry, it's true.
He is the nominee. That has to be providence. That has to be the hand of God, in my opinion.
And any tongue that rises against him will be condemned according to the word of God. It is God that raises up a king. It is God that sets one down. And so when you fight against the plan of God, you're fighting against the hand of God. If we get two more, we will be able to overturn demonic laws and decrees that has held this nation in captivity.
Classic American blaming. What are you talking about? I blame my own country, but your country is also helping. Stop saying it's America. You stop making yourself a fucking passenger in the world. You're part of this shit too. Your government is fucking compromised by American Israeli spies just as much as mine is. Stop pretending it's America alone. You guys are the problem too. Get off your fucking ass. Join parties that are against America. Support Jean-Luc Mélenchon if you're French. Support the Green Party if you're in the UK. Support the NDP if you're Canadian. Support Claudia Sheinbaum if you're Mexican. Get off your fucking ass and start containing this fucking country. These are the people that are in charge. I need your help. Americans have to suffer consequences for our actions.
I can tell you that our president is doing absolutely phenomenal, that he is in great health every way.
Huge history buff. It's like he understands that which has been is that which will be.
Thank you for your courageous and bold stand for religious liberty and for your timeless service to all Americans. We appreciate the price that you have paid to walk in the high calling. History will record the great.
I'm the spiritual advisor with the off-the-shoulder cocktail neckline. I mean, I'm not trying to shame anybody for their choices, but this is a far-right conservative evangelical woman who wants to force women who have been raped to have children, and she walks around with a cocktail dress like she's some sort of cosmopolitan. Trump's previous spiritual advisor was a pedophile.
One of the ways Donald Trump won the 2016 election was through the complete embrace of him by evangelicals, both the base and pastors and leaders in that movement. One of the most prominent is a pastor named Robert Morris. He founded a Texas megachurch in Southlake, Texas. Morris was also a spiritual advisor to Trump while he was in the White House. Here he is in the Rose Garden in 2020, just a few rows behind where then Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's family and the First Lady are about to sit. And here is Trump visiting Morris's church earlier that summer, giving his personal.
Look at how they used. By the way, in America, you're not allowed to use a church to politically campaign. Like, you're not allowed to preach from the pulpit a political view. That's supposed to be against the law. Look at how these openly violate the law. They openly violate it. They openly violate it nonstop because they get tax exemptions. And they've been violating it for 30 fucking years. And what do the Democrats say? Not a goddamn thing because they're cucks. Rules are for us.
Assessment of the man.
So I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dolan. They're great people. Great people with a great reputation, I have to say that. Great reputation. And Gateway Church, the team has been incredible in hosting us. And I'd now like to ask Pastor Morris and Bishop Jackson to lead us in prayer.
Well, Robert Morris just resigned from his church following allegations that he sexually abused a child. In a statement to an evangelical news site, Morris said he was involved in an inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady. Those are his words. He didn't mention that the young lady in question was a 12-year-old girl. In his statement, Trump's one-time spiritual advisor admitted
Pedo-conservatism is not a theory, it's a fact. That's why every single person who hates me and Hassan on this platform is a lolicon enjoyer or best friends with a fucking pedophile.
That you have brought for generations.
And so you sit back and go, whoa, yeah, but she crazy. She up there in the White House praying. You better believe I'm praying. You better believe I'm up there saying in the name of Jesus. You better believe that I'm walking around those parameters saying I lift this up and I dedicate every ounce of this place as holy ground. I release angels right now in the Holy Spirit and walls of fire. I burn up every demonic altar in the name of Jesus and I call it to crumble.
And these are the guys that are, and they're now telling our soldiers and sailors, Marines, Air Force, that it's all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. They're going to war in Iran for delusional religious claptrap. Monday's email from the NCO said the commander's remarks destroy morale and unit cohesion and are violations of the oaths we swore to support the Constitution. Military MRFF president and founder Mikey Weinstein, a veteran of the Air Force in the Reagan White House, told me since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran earlier Saturday morning, the MRFF has been inundated with similar complaints. These calls of one damn thing that in freaking comment are MRFF clients support the unrestricted euphoria of their commanders and command chains as to how this new biblically sanctioned war is clearly the undeniable sign of the expeditious approach of the fundamentalist Christian end times as vividly described in the New Testament book of Revelation. Many of their commanders are especially delighted with how graphic this battle will be, zeroing in on how bloody all of this must become in order to fulfill and be in 100% accordance with fundamentalist Christian end of the world eschatology. Eschatology. This is my favorite video of Trump's spiritual advisor.
Strike and strike and strike and strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. Angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now.
It would be funny if it wasn't them sending us to war. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Any military member seeking to take advantage of their subordinates by advancing their blood-soaked Christian nationalist wet dreams upon the flames of this latest non-congressionally sanctioned attack against Iran should be swiftly, aggressively, and visibly prosecuted. As I revealed last year, Hegseth sponsors this weekly White House Bible study that preaches support for Israel. Some Christians claim biblical prophecy requires Israel to exist for Jesus to return. But Hegseth's Bible study leader, Rachel Drollinger, teaches that the reason to support Israel is that God still blesses Israel's allies and curses Israel's enemies, even though Israel killed Jesus. After Israel's attack on Iran last year, Drollinger dedicated 2 weeks of lessons to preaching support for Israel. His lessons went out to White House cabinet members and members of Congress, even as Israel too was lobbying for U.S. engagement. Okay, hold on. My shit was all fucked when we fixed my audio. Hegseth also initiated monthly prayer sessions, mostly featuring Doug Wilson, the far-right Christian nationalist. Is the audio broken? Okay, so this audio is just fucking broken. Okay, way to check your work, bro. They want a nuke? I mean, okay. I hope not. You know, what would you want me to say? There's nothing I can do to stop the president of the United States and the secretary of war from being batshit crazy from my fucking Twitch stream. You know, what do you want me to say? I can only report on it. Okay, so this audio is just completely toast. Okay. Mike, stop World War III right now. If I could, I would.
Bahrain, Kuwait sustained as well. And also, too, as a result of Israeli moves here, explosions heard in Beirut, with the Israeli armed forces saying they're targeting Hezbollah's center of gravity in that area. Let's not forget, obviously, importantly, to Tehran, where there are reports from the Iranian Red Crescent that maybe over 700 people have been killed since the start of this conflict. Extraordinary plumes of smoke and damage there, as the United States says clearly that it believes it will be escalating its military operations there. The time frame of all of this, so hard to truly understand how much.
Last night there was attacks on Israel from Iran as well.
Huge strikes on live stream in Tel Aviv. Did they udrub or what? Where is it? Oh shit. No, those are interceptors. Oh, is this happening already? Like this? Oh shit. Oh, they cut across.
All right, we're gonna. And you're starting to see some activity there, again, toward the right of your screen now.
Ooh.
Okay, so 10:39 there in Tel Aviv. Just a few minutes after we reported Israeli sources saying that the strikes this morning by the U.S. and Iran.
Everybody, if you want peace and you hate war, people smile in the chat.
Did in fact kill the supreme leader of Iran. And there were questions about what we might see after this news and throughout the night in Israel. I do want to bring in Cedric Layton, who's standing by. And
you're
Cedric,
have to send me a link.
Obviously, Israel has the Iron Dome. They work to intercept these missiles that are coming toward Tel Aviv right now, but help people understand what we're looking at on our screen.
Yeah, so Jessica, what you're seeing is a panoply of different aspects here. So the Israeli air defense system, the missile defense system, is composed of basically 3 layers. One of them is the famous Iron Dome. That is basically takes care of short-range missile threats, also drones, threats of that type, in some cases even artillery shells. You go up then to the David Sling system. That David Sling system is a system that takes care of medium-level threats, medium-range threats. So that could include some of the missiles that come into Israeli airspace from places like Iran, also places like Lebanon, where Hezbollah was very important as an Iranian proxy. And then you have the Arrow system, and the Arrow system is the one that we're probably seeing most of, because that takes care of the longest range missiles. So every time you see a flash in the sky, what you're looking at is the point where the Arrow missile or one of the other air defense missiles is actually intercepting an incoming missile. Some of these missiles go in and they do what's called a proximity hit. So in other words, they don't actually directly hit the actual incoming missile, but others go in and directly hit that missile. It depends on which system you're using. But the basic idea is if the target is perceived to be a populated area or an important building, then the Israeli air defense system is brought into play, and it actually takes out that missile. And if the trajectory of the missile shows that it's going in.
Mike, have you covered Hassan's Tom Steyer interview? No. Was it bad? I didn't watch last night. I'm not really, like, I don't really have an interest. Like, Tom Steyer doesn't interest me at all, and never has. Tom Steyer refused to call it a genocide. Steyer bombed. There's 37 million on the line. Will Jesus Christ return before 2027? The fact that it hangs just below the scalped threshold tells me it's being scalped, and that percentage of people believe is actually higher. Zero resist, 4% APY. Voting no here is basically like putting your money in a bank saving account.
To an unpopulated area.
You're just paying fees, you know, you're not even really making money.
You see a flash right there. That was probably a big hit where the missile was intercepted. You see pieces are falling.
Okay, chat, listen. For my friends, you gotta keep the hits coming. They gotta be more interesting. You know.
Guys, I feel lied to. I thought, but the Ayatollah's dead, and therefore Iran was gonna wave the white flag, and that like they would never retaliate. It was over, right? The regime collapsed.
Okay, everybody wants this meme.
Shortly thereafter,
the missile knows where it is because it knows where it isn't. And if you subtract where it isn't from where, you know, blah, 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 you know, this meme.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't. By subtracting where it is from where it isn't, or where it isn't from where it is, whichever is greater, it obtains a difference or deviation. The guidance subsystem uses deviations to generate corrective commands to drive the missile from a position where it is to a position where it isn't, and arriving at a position where it wasn't, it now is. Consequently, the position where it is now the position that it wasn't, and it follows that the position that it was is now the position that it isn't. In the event that the position that it is in not the position that it wasn't, the system has acquired a variation. The variation being the difference between where the missile is and where it wasn't. If variation is considered to be a significant factor, it too may be corrected by the GEA. However, the missile must also know where it was. The missile guidance computer scenario works as follows. Because a variation has modified some of the information the missile has obtained, it is not sure just where it is. However, it is sure where it isn't, within reason, and it knows where it was. It now subtracts where it should be from where it wasn't, or vice versa. And by differentiating this from the algebraic sum of where it shouldn't be and where it was, it is able to obtain the deviation and its variation, which is called error.
Makes sense? Okay, engineering. That's your average engineering class, chat. Tom Steyer failing to call it a genocide? Yeah. I mean, as much as I want to talk about Tom Steyer, I'm more interested in the fact that we are living in a world where these fucking morons Our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us not to be afraid of what is happening with our combat operations in Iran right now. He urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran, to cause Armageddon, and mark his return to Earth. He had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message seem even more crazy. Our commander would probably be described as a Christian first supporter. He has been this way for a long time and makes it clear that he desires all of us under him to become just like him as a Christian. What he did this morning was so toxic and over the line that it shocked many of us in attendance at the ops readiness briefing. Besides myself, I'm reaching out to MRFF on behalf of 15 fellow troops. I know you asked me about the religious views of our group, which has requested help from the MRFF. I can tell you that I'm Christian. At least 10 of those are also Christians. One of the others is Jewish and one is Muslim. I don't know the religious or non-religious status of the other 3 at this time. I and my fellow troops know that it is completely wrong to have to suffer through what our commander said today. I'm not just the separation of church and state, as we discussed, Mr. Weinstein. It's the fact that our commander feels as though he is fully supported and justified by the entire chain of command to inflict his Armageddon views of our attack on Iran on those of us beneath him in the chain of command. So, yeah, that seems pretty bad. Pakistan says it has notified Iran to take into account the joint defense agreement between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia as news of Riyadh preparing to retaliate against Iran for yesterday's attack. And by the way, chat, like Pakistan had a military coup supported by the United States to remove the democratically elected leader Imran Khan, and the United States supported the destruction of Pakistan's democracy because it went in the hands of corrupt military dictatorship. That's what they want to do to Iran. They want to have Pakistan and Iran be the same type of anti-democratic, torturing, mass killing of protester government. The United States of America is saying like, oh my God, I can't believe Iran is killing protesters. Pakistan did the exact same thing last year, and Joe Biden's White House liked it. So if you hear some fucking progressives telling you, oh, we need to have a war against China, or we need to be against authoritarianism. It's all nonsense. It's all a fucking bold-faced lie, and they're a campist imperialist. Any socialist is against what the United States is doing to the world. Period. It looks like people bought the bottom of the stock market has risen quite a bit from where it started off the day. Still down a percent, but well off it was down at 1,200. So it looks like traders are buying. They bought the dip. The United States of America also wanted to give nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. That was the plan. That was Joe Biden's plan. Joe Biden's plan was to give nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia in exchange for them recognizing Israel's right to exist. It looks like the Strait of Hormuz doesn't currently have any transits happening. And they're all sitting outside the strait. Well, the Dow dropped quite a bit, but it's been climbing since. If AOC were to win the presidency, how would she be able to reform the chain of command? I honest to God, we need to be honest with you, we need a military purge. The problem that I see is that I don't think the left, and I include people that call themselves democratic socialists, are truly aware of the level of rot that has penetrated the government.
2 embassies, one in Saudi Arabia, one in Kuwait, as Iran steps up its retaliatory strikes on American assets and allies across the Middle East. Both embassies hit by suspected Iran drone attacks. And there's also this video showing a massive inferno at one of the world's largest oil refineries in Saudi Arabia. The death toll for U.S. forces since the war began has now risen to 6 after a counterstrike against a U.S.
I think we watched this one already.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. The U.S. is sending more troops and fighter jets to the Middle East as the death toll mounts in the region after the U.S. and Israel launched an unprovoked attack on Iran on Saturday. Iran's retaliated by striking Israel and U.S. allies in the region. Over the past day, Iranian drones hit U.S. embassies in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Meanwhile, Israel sent more ground troops into Lebanon as Israel and Hezbollah exchange attacks. We go right now to Rami Khouri, Palestinian-American journalist, distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. He's also a non-resident senior fellow at the Arab Center, Washington, D.C. Rami, thanks so much for being with us again. If you can respond to what has taken place. Now this escalation with Israel's escalation with Lebanon and this shifting rationale for why the U.S., though they have said from Marco Rubio to House Speaker Johnson that they were supporting Israel in doing this, that Israel took the first move and that they understood that if Israel attacked Iran, they felt Iran would attack Israel, so Iran would attack the United States, and so Israel was making a preemptive, so that United States was making a preemptive move. Sorry, I'm sounding so confused, but the rationales have been very confusing.
Well, it sounds like a new puzzle in the newspaper that we've got to figure out, but this is the constant, one of the constant factors that we see going on now. There's 3 or 4 things that have converged. One is this confusion and militaristic overkill from the United States. It's been there for 40 years or so in the Middle East. And it goes from Iraq to Iran to Lebanon to Libya to Somalia, all over the place. Second one is that the Israelis have continued since the 1940s, the Zionist movement and now the State of Israel. They've continued to try to expand their region of sovereignty and control and expand their region of hegemonic influence across the entire region. They don't want anybody in the West Asia, North Africa region to challenge them or offer a different alternative or fight them. The third one is the nonstop attempts by 2 groups in particular, the Iranians and the Palestinians, who since 1947 have been denied by the US, UK, and Israel, have been denied their right to self-determination. In other words, the Iranians and the Palestinians are not permitted to exercise their self-determination rights, to have the kind of sovereignty they wish they're entitled to by law, and to chart policies that they want to chart. So there's been nonstop Zionist, Israeli, American, British military action and political action, coups and all kinds of things in Iran and in Palestine. And that's why the Iranians and the Palestinians are the 2 groups of people who continue to resist in any way they can. They can't match the military might of Israel and the U.S., but they can match the determination to live in dignity and freedom and self-determination. That's the third one. The fourth one is the inability of any combination of Arab countries to mount a cohesive diplomatic or military response to the threats that they face all the time, whoever the threats may be coming from. Mostly they're coming from Israel. Sometimes they come from the U.S., sometimes from Iran, sometimes from somebody else. So all of these have converged together, and we're seeing ultimately now the consequence of allowing the State of Israel, with full UK and then US support, to run wild across the region militarily, do whatever it wants, annex territory, colonize territory, carry out ethnic cleansing, do a genocide, and they tell the West we're the only democracy and we're protecting the West from the barbarians in the Middle East. This has gone on now for decades and decades, and it's astounding that there's very little done about this. The region can't do very much, but it's astounding that the Western democracies...
Does anyone else feel like they've censored things since last night? Yeah, there's definitely a lot less coverage of the situation than I would expect. Like, I'm looking around a lot, and it's at most text stories. It's surprising, like a war in Iran that doesn't have a lot of video leads me to believe that things are not going well. You know, there's not very much in the way of video. There's not very much in the way of coverage. That is climbing on my award.
Have done virtually nothing other than mostly support or parrot Israel. And this is causing people across the world to look at the idea of Western culture and Western liberal democratic tradition as a hoax. It's not serious, it's not sincere, and it's not credible. And we're seeing it in practice today.
I have a cat now.
And Rami, I wanted to ask you about the impact, the religious impact of what has happened over the last few days. This this killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, and also the fact that what's happening at the street level, not at the government level in many of the Middle East countries, but we're seeing massive protests in Pakistan, attacks on the U.S. embassy there, in Iraq, in Bahrain, and the lack of understanding of the United States government that Khamenei was not just a supreme leader in Iran. He was a religious figure throughout the Shia portion of the Muslim world.
And he was a model of ideology and resistance to many people who are not Iranians or Shiites around the region and around the world. The big force that is asserting itself now via Israel and the U.S. and some other Western countries like the U.K., Germany, is the continuation and the rejuvenation and the digital reconfiguration of Western colonial imperialistic militarism. This has been going on since the 15th century. The Europeans have gone out and carried out conquests and holocausts and...
Ape Mike hates cats? Who the fuck told you that? I hate cat, not cats. Okay? Rami is a Palestinian Christian for any dickhead who thinks the wanting resistance is an extremist Muslim thing. I mean, of course it's not. Like the Israeli, I mean, like this is not about Islam. This is about Israel trying to steal land and dominate the region militarily for a supremacist ideology. It's like every other fascist organization or movement throughout history. And resistance is not, it's material. It's funny how the radical Islamists are able to laser focus and strategically target military targets. The U.S. is acting like a headless chicken running wild and acting like a cult because it is. The United States of America is run by Christian fundamentalists who are even more batshit crazy than the most extreme Iranian cleric. Like, that's just a fact. Did you see Bill Clinton being a creepy old man from the Epstein files? Hold on, chat. Why is his tongue out? God.
Genocide all over the world, killing millions and millions of people. And this is the latest configuration in the digital age. And Israel is spearheading this with the U.S. in the Middle East. And the people in the region, the ordinary people, have protested this steadily for the last century and are unable to do anything about it because none of the countries in the Arab region, not a single one in the Arab region, has practiced true sovereignty, credible sovereignty. In other words, they can make decisions for their own well-being on their own. They have to get permission from Israel or the U.S. or Turkey or Iran or Saudi Arabia or somebody outside their country has to approve what they want to do, and therefore they're powerless, and the people are powerless, and the combination of powerless people and powerless governments has given rise to these non-state armed movements like Hezbollah, Hamas, Ansarullah, and many others, and has led to massive outmigration of the finest young minds across the region. And so this is the terrible situation that the populations of these countries face, and they just can't do anything about it. The 10 years of the extraordinary Arab uprisings between 2010 and 2020 was an incredible movement, a historic movement where the whole region, the people were out in the streets, and they were just calling for
what could he even say, Chad?
Dignity, good governance, reasonably priced food, decent education, less corruption, and steady electricity supply. They were not asking for revenge for cutting people's heads off, and they were ignored by their leaders, and then they were beaten up by their leaders. So this is the dilemma that has faced this.
Wait. I'm a Western. Wait, what is he saying? Hold on. Wait, somebody said something funny. Wait, do we have a pet? Oh, thank God, finally. There's so few like actual Asmongold viewers that are bots. Holy shit, thank God we found one. Holy fuck, they're so rare. LOL, Iran has been declaring death to America for decades. All right, Amir Twitch, Please explain what you think the history of American and Iranian relations are. What is the first, kind of really significant event between America and Iran that you can think of? Okay, so if a guy that lives at the end of my street threatens to kill me, and I see he's stockpiling guns while opening stating he wants to kill me, what should I do? No one gives a shit what you wokies think or want. We're doing whatever we want because we are the majority. Even you know that you're not the majority, right? Like, you're very clearly not the majority. We are consulting you morons, just making shit happen, cry more. I mean, the average Trump supporter's life expectancy is significantly lower than the average person who opposes Trump. I mean, it's just a fact. The fastest growing area of public health concern is suicide of white men conservatives. This is a fact, by the way. White male conservatives are offing themselves at the highest rate of any other demographic. Did you know that, chat? Like, they are blowing their back of their heads off, like, at an alarming rate. It's crazy. But this is just a scientific fact. I'm not trying to say it's good. I don't think it's good. Suicide is bad. Persia is free and women will get their freedom. Like Libya is free. Like Iraq is free. Like Saudi Arabia is free. Like Pakistan is free. Like Egypt is free. Like Lebanon is free. Like Syria is free. Like, what are you talking about? I am a Western white man. I support anything that weakens the Muslim world, including this. Could you help with a theory question? Let me interrupt what I'm doing. What's the theory? I'm not finding a lot of theory on the definition of petit bourgeois. What would you say to the defining features? I mean, first of all, that's not a theory question. That's a basic question. That's a glossary question. You should be able to find that on your own if you put a little effort in. But I will answer it to... Okay, well, my OBS just blew up, chat. So, and I know why, because I restarted my computer. Oh, fuck. God damn it. I restarted my computer, and I forgot to... Yeah, okay. I know what caused that. But it's still fine. We're gonna keep streaming. It's fine. The streaming is still continuing. Okay, what was he saying? All right, the Muslim world. All the problems that you have with the quote Muslim world are the American and European allies. All the extreme conservative Muslim shit that you complain about was literally created and reinforced by the United States, the UK, and France, and it was done so to counter left-wing thought and secularism, which is a leftist value. So everything that you say is good about the West is a left-wing value, dumbass. Feminism, the modern feminism that we have today, is largely advanced by Marxists. Like, all the things that you think are good about the Western world that make it superior to Islam is leftist shit. You're dumb as fuck, and you don't know basic history. There's going to come a time when people start to say, I agree with neo-Nazis. Oh, guys. Oh, no. The leftoids. We're so scared of the Nazi. Here's the thing that you need to understand about Nazism and fascism in general. It is self-annihilating. Every place in the world where fascism grew, it was annihilated. It is a suicide cult. I've never been less scared than I am right now. I've never been less scared than I am right now. I think it's tragic, the damage that's being done to the world. But for me, there's nothing. I am not in any way perturbed. All right, what were we saying? Back to the Iranian war.
Region,
Israel.
In the modern period, since statehood was introduced in a serious way in the 1930s, we've had a century now of non-state states.
By the way, Chad, I just realized something. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting it by subscribing. I think that it's not good for a stream to rely on any one, support network more than the other. All right. It's best when a stream like mine has a diverse, broad-based support network. So if you have been gifted a sub watching the stream, and you've been watching the stream for a while, if you put in 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 hours a month watching the stream, please consider supporting it by paying for your own sub immediately and not relying on gifted subs. Oh, by the way, did this guy ever answer about the beginning of American involvement with Iran? These are still Islamic majority countries. He didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question. You think that death to America is something that has happened because Iran just decided they wanted to say death to America for a country that's 9,000 miles away? Is that what happened? They just decided one day to be like, you know what? We are bordering Russia. We're bordering Afghanistan. We're bordering Iraq. I know what we want to do. We need to chant death to America because we just, for some reason, we're going to talk about a country that's 9,000, 7,000 miles or whatever across the world. We just decided to randomly start chanting death to America. Is that what you think happened? Do you think trans people should get out of Kansas for their own safety? Listen, I am loath to say just move to anyone because I understand that most people live where they live because that's where their support network is, that's where their job is, that's where their family is. But I do consider Kansas to be incredibly unsafe for trans people. And I would completely understand why people would move. If you have the means, probably not a bad idea. There, I did it. Let's fucking go. Thank you. Hammer Time, Corn Lord, Furious Cabin Boy, Pat Mahoney, 3 Bakes, Tyrannosaurus Rex, New 001, chat. Thank you all for gifting subs. Dr. USA's us as 0. Thank you for the 5. Thank you everybody for supporting the stream. It really does mean a lot because one of the things that happens when you're a streamer is there are ebbs and flows in your support, you know? Ebbs and flows. Sometimes you get lucky and a bunch of people support you all at once, which is what happened to me last month, right? I had a lot of really generous supporters come out of nowhere. But for the long-term viability of the stream, I need as many people as possible to pay for their own subs. Because I don't want to rely on the kind of the variability of anyone, good luck period. So if you could just support me yourself, if you enjoy the content, you make it a lot more secure. And I don't like feeling like I have to do anything but create the content that I like to create and make the commentary and shape it in the way that I want to shape it. You get what I'm saying, chat?
States that don't have the...
I said the dispossession of the Shah. What the fuck are you talking about? The United States of America. Oh, so you just don't know basic history. The United States of America with the British MI6 and the CIA overthrew the democratically elected secular leader of Mohammad Mossadegh, who was pro-American, but he wanted to renegotiate the Anglo-Iranian oil company, which was stealing Iran's oil through manufactured and corrupt books. So the British were not paying the royalties that they agreed to pay to the Iranians. And so the government of Iran sought to renegotiate the contract so that it would be similar to what the United States under Exxon was giving Saudi Arabia. And the British, instead of saying, hey, we got caught stealing your oil, they launched an aggressive war against Iran. So you had a secular, left-wing, pro-democracy president, and America destroyed the democracy to put into place the Iranian Shah, who was unpopular. And he set up a secret police called the SAVAK, which raped and murdered and tortured anybody who opposed the imposition of the absolute monarchy. A U.S. Army colonel working for the CIA was sent to Persia in September 1953 to work with General Tamir Bakhatar, who was appointed military governor of Tehran in December 1953, immediately began to assemble the nucleus of a new intelligence organization. The U.S. Army colonel worked closely with Bakhatar and his subordinates, commanding the new intelligence organization and training its members in intelligence techniques such as surveillance and interrogation methods. The Army colonel was replaced with 5 permanent CIA officers. So we set up a Gestapo fascist government. We overthrew the democracy and we started torturing people. A well-known writer was arrested, tortured for months, and finally placed before television cameras to confess that his works paid too much attention to social problems and not enough to the great achievements of the white revolution. By the end of 1975, 22 prominent poets, novelists, professors, theater directors, and filmmakers were in jail for criticizing the regime. That's what they were doing. Despite new torture, scientific training to prevent unwanted deaths from brute force. So these were the people that that's why they were chanting death to America, because they were overturning the Gestapo genocide government of the Shah. And they had a revolution. Now, unfortunately, the right wing is the one who won among the different forces within the revolution, and they imposed a conservative clerical government. But before that, they had a peaceful democracy, a pro-American democracy, and we overthrew it for BP. That's why people chant death to America. And I feel like if the same thing happened to whatever European country you live in, you non-American fuck, if America overthrew your government and started torturing your people so that we could steal your resources, you would chant death to America too, you dumb fuck.
Authority, or
he lives in New Zealand. Pathetic worm.
Capability or the will to act as sovereign states. And therefore, this is what we end up with. The Israelis do what they want. The Americans do what they want. Other people...
I told you, of course he's a non-American. Of course he's a non-American Asmongold LARPer.
Penetrate the region. And public protests will always be an immediate emotional response. Demonstrations, a lot of this, you see it on the internet. But in terms of organized political action, there's very little that is going on. And then now we're going to see in Iran, whenever this attack stops, there'll have to be some kind of transition. The Iranians themselves are in the process of creating a new leadership and deciding what they want to do. I don't think there's going to be radical change from the old to the from Khamenei to the new leadership. There might be some changes here and there, and I don't think we're going to have a system where the Iranian people will be directly or credibly involved in making these strategic decisions about the government's ideology, the government's policies, the government's priorities. This is the trouble. The whole region is run by top-heavy autocratic systems that don't consult their people and don't give them an opportunity to express themselves. And until this pattern is broken, we're going to unfortunately see this going on for years and years.
And what do you make of Israel's now calling up 100,000 reservists and renewing its war in Lebanon against Hezbollah?
I think this is expected. They've done it many times. Every time they've done it, they've occupied land, they've killed a lot of people, they've destroyed a lot of villages and homes and public facilities. They retreated. Nothing.
Donald Trump has just announced that he may invade with troops on the ground.
Well, in his first public appearance since U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, President Trump says combat operations will continue, possibly long past the military's original 4 to 5 week timeline. So far, the Pentagon confirming 6 American service members have been killed and says more casualties are expected. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the latest from the White House.
Monday, Americans hearing from a commander-in-chief bracing for a long fight.
Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
As much of America is anxious about another prolonged war in the Middle East, President Trump explains his objectives.
First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon.
And he says, end Iranian support for outside terrorist proxies. The president suggests U.S. operations may not be limited to naval
So it's really all about Israel. It's like, how could Israel steal territory from the neighboring countries? So they're talking about proxies. They're talking about Hezbollah and they're talking about basically any forces in the neighboring countries that might resist Israel's territorial expansion.
Air forces. Trump tells the New York Post, I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says there will be no boots on the ground, I don't say it. In these first days of war, the Trump administration...
The yips? I don't think Donald Trump must be talking to like men. Because as far as I know, I've never seen Donald Trump speak about sports. He doesn't talk about sports much. So he must be talking to other men for the first time in his life. Like, like other straight men. Because, like, I've never seen him use a sports analogy, which is very unusual. You know, usually, I mean, fuck, if you talk to me long enough, I give you sports analogy. So, Donald Trump, honestly, he may have the kind of, like, God, I don't want to say this because it sounds homophobic. It's not about being gay or straight. It's more like It's like theater kid. It's like Broadway understudy. It's like a man who just like never, ever, ever really paid attention to sports. It's not about being gay or straight. It's just like, it's like that guy who, if you try to talk to him about sports, they're like, sports ball is bread and roses for the masses. I'm too smart. I'm reading my Noam Chomsky. Although they probably wouldn't say that now. Well, you get my point. You know what I mean? It's like, those are bread and roses. I don't care about sports. That's for the lesser people. You know? Very midwit Reddit take. That's definitely like a Donald Trump-ism. The yips basically refers to people that get like performance anxiety in sports. Usually it's a reference to baseball where like a player, like a pitcher, loses a pitch because they lose confidence. So they introduce some sort of like factor into their, you know, pitching motion or whatever that makes them lose. Like they get worse because their confidence destroys their mechanics, their lack of confidence.
Working to control the message behind what it's about and why they believe force is justified.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change. Iran was building.
What? So this is just Venezuela Part 2, except Iran has the ability to retaliate. I'm sorry, Venezuela Part 2. Venezuela didn't have military forces, so they got kidnapped and they couldn't do anything about it. Whereas Iran has been building up their military forces, so they're retaliating. So they're just trying. This is like running a presidency from the COD server or something.
Powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions.
Iran has a message of their own as they launch counterattacks. The country's top national security official, Ali Larijani, says Iran, unlike the United States, has prepared itself for a long war. Iranian strikes aimed at Israel and U.S. military bases across the Middle East. Civilian buildings and infrastructure have also been targeted or hit, like this airport in Dubai.
I like hit myself in the epididymis. I don't know what the fuck happened there. Holy shit. Oh. Have you ever been hit there, chat? Like checking myself for testicular torsion there. Holy fuck. All right, I feel I'm okay. I don't know what I did there. Mike, I have a bachelor's of science and I can't even spell that. I'm sorry you don't know your own anatomy. What do you want me to say? Did I sit on my balls? Yeah, I did something. Okay, I'm feeling better.
These explosions over the skies of Doha. The Pentagon confirms more U.S. military personnel and fighter jets are deploying to the Middle East and says Central Command is actively assessing its needs. At the White House, I'm Atra Al-Nashar.
You know what's so funny? Oh yeah, the Europeans are saying they need Russian oil. EU agrees a complete ban of Russian gas exports by 2027. That was a couple weeks ago. Now today. EU urges Ukraine to allow access to pipeline carrying Russian oil. The Europeans are completely dependent upon Middle East oil. So if the Middle East oil is cut off, the Europeans need Russian oil. And if they don't get either, welcome to a fucking depression.
If you're watching Western media coverage of the Iran-Israel crisis, you might be witnessing a rather upside-down, topsy-turvy, bizarro view of the world, of reality. You're not being told everything. You're being given skewed perceptions. For example, if you're watching Western media coverage, you might come away with the impression that Iran attacked Israel out of the blue and Israel is responding, when it's the other way around. We all saw on Thursday night that it was Israel that launched an illegal act of aggression against Iran. Iran is the victim here, Israel is the aggressor, but in the Western media coverage, Israel is the victim always. Some other points you may miss while watching Western media coverage, for example, Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. Israel does. Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. Israel isn't. Iran has allowed IAEA inspectors into its country. Israel doesn't. It's a nuclear double standard that I raised with former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon a few years back on my Al Jazeera English show Head to Head, in a clip that's recently gone viral again.
How many nuclear weapons does Israel have? Because experts say it's anywhere between 80 and 400.
So what?
So what?
Yeah, so what? Has Israel ever threatened?
Do you recognize the hypocrisy of Israel having a secret illicit nuclear weapons program that it won't open up its doors to and won't talk about, and then lecturing everyone else in the region about nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not. You know why?
You talked about hypocrisy. Let me ask again. If an Iranian guest came on my show and I asked him about Iran's nuclear program, he said, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about it. Would you be okay with that? You'd be outraged.
Of course,
and yet you sit here as a former minister of the Israeli government saying, "Oh, I don't know, never talked about nukes with anyone."
Because there was like 16 United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran.
And there is against Israel. And there is against Israel as well.
About
your nuclear program?
No.
Yes, there is. UN Resolution 487. Let me read it to you. The UN Security Council in 1981 says, calls upon Israel urgently to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Why haven't you done that?
Because...
There you have it, the nuclear double standard. Israel violates multiple UN Security Council resolutions when it comes to its own stockpile of nuclear weapons. And yet Western media interviewers who have multiple Israelis on air all the time never really ask about this, never really ask about Israel's nukes. Why? I get why Israel wants to maintain its policy of nuclear ambiguity, of not confirming or denying that it has nukes. But why does the US media, the UK media, the Canadian media, why do they all have to go along with it?
Because they're all propagandists who serve the American state. It's not, like, obviously there are no standards, and I think that's what insults liberals the most. What insults liberals the most is all the arcane shit. All the arcane shit that they learn in college is all just could be wiped away with the escalation of force, and people don't like that. They get security and safety from those feelings that institutions are not just pieces of paper or social, contingencies. And I'm sorry, chat, you got to be able to grow up and understand that all this stuff is constructs, and it only exists insofar as we all enforce it.
All right, guys, we've got yet another heavy hitter guest and first-time guest on the show, Professor Zhang. He is the star of the popular...
Are you trying to make me more enemies? I already made enemies with my cat takes. Why are you trying to give me more enemies? Why are you trying to make me more enemies, bro? All right, let's listen to what he's saying. I'll tell you what I think.
YouTube channel, Predictive History. He uses game theory to analyze past, current, and to predict future geopolitical...
Okay, could someone give me an example of him using game theory? As a bit of a game theory scholar myself, can someone give me an example of him using game theory so I can look at that?
Events, and he joins us now. Professor, great to have you.
What did Mike say about cats? I love cats.
Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So, for people who aren't familiar with your work, I wanted to show folks that back in 2024, you made 3 big predictions. 1, that Trump would win. 2, that he would start a war with Iran. And 3, that the U.S. would lose that war. Let's take a listen to that.
In this class, this semester, I'm making 3 big predictions, right? First is that Trump will win in November. Second is that the United States will go to war against Iran. And the third big prediction is that the United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
So obviously that last one is the only one that has not yet come to fruition. Is quite a stunning prediction. Do you stand by it? And what have you seen so far that leads you to sort of...
Okay, hold on. Let me hear it one more time.
The United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
So
okay, what does that fucking mean? What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean?
Predictions, right? First is that Trump will win in November. Second is that the United States will go to war against Iran.
True.
And the third big prediction is that the United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
So obviously...
Okay, I predicted that Donald Trump would lose, so that was a good one. But he's going for he's got the parlay going right now. Okay, but what does he mean by lose? What does he mean by lose? Like, lose is such a nebulous term. What does he mean? I want to hear him explain what lose means.
That last one is the only one that has not yet come to fruition. Is quite a stunning prediction. Do you stand by it? And what have you seen so far that leads you to sort of stand firm in that conclusion?
So given my analysis of how the war is progressing, I think that Iran has many more advantages over the United States. The reality is that right now, it's a war of attrition between the United States and Iran. And the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict. In their eschatology, in their religion, this is a war against the great Satan. They've had many practice runs. Last June was a 12-day war when the Iranians were able to examine and analyze the strike capacities of both the Israelis and the Americans. and they've had a lot of time, 8 months, to prepare fully for this new attack. They, through their proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Shia militias, have been able to really grasp the American mentality, and now they have a pretty good strategy of how to weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire.
Sloppyism is insane, bro. It's so insane. God, I may actually, like, sloppyism is fucking so much fun, man. I wish I was dumber. This would be such a blast. I wish I were dumber. It would be a fucking blast. The reality is that Israel and the United States, through extensive corruption of the resistance networks and through telegenic, massive operations that were war crimes, but nonetheless very effective, have dealt dangerous blows to the ability of the Iranian proxies to resist Israel. Israel and the United States have proceeded with a spiraling escalation, looking for existential extermination of any resistance group. And the Iranian and the resistance groups, under the face of that onslaught, betrayed. Iran hung back and watched its proxies be whittled down, assassinated, attacked, isolated, and did fucking dick all. Okay, that's the reality. And Iran itself suffered extremely damaging attacks from the United States and Israel that have ultimately led to nearly all the senior leadership being assassinated. Now, that's not to say that the Iranian resistance has been completely, or the other resistance groups have been defeated, but they are in a far worse position than they were 24 months ago. And their capabilities are degraded, not enhanced. Now, I don't say this because I like it. I say it because it's true. So perhaps over years, they could fight this kind of distributed, you know, a cells-based, irregular war of resistance. But that is far cry from like, oh, they're ready and better than ever. That's nonsense. That's not true. And also, the idea that they're going to destroy the American empire, you gotta, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean?
So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they are striking.
I don't even think that's true. I don't even think that's true. They have begun to escalate in the sense of closing the Strait of Hormuz, striking a few targets within the Arab states that are being used to attack Iran. But as far as like attacking the global economy, they would be shooting at all the ships then. Are they shooting at all the ships? Have they sunk a bunch of ships that are... Why wait for the Strait of Hormuz? Just start sinking all the ships that are in the Gulf. Come on, guys. Hey, Yagopnik Raid, how are you all doing? Welcome on in.
GCC countries. And not only are they striking GCC countries, American bases, but they're going after the critical energy infrastructure of these bases. They blocked off the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, they might. I'm not saying that he's completely wrong. I'm just saying that I think that the rhetoric is going beyond the actual reality. Now, if they continue to escalate, this very well might be the case. But I don't think there's evidence that's available that they've successfully done that on any kind of scale. I think people, like, a single strike is different than destroying these facilities. Does that make sense? When am I shooting guns with Yagopnik? When he's in America. Assuming I'm still allowed.
After the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations because they don't have fresh water supply. In fact, the water desalination plants provides 60% of the GCC's water supply. So if a drone, and these drones cost $50,000, if they wiped out a desalination plant in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and it's a city of 10 million people, right? They'd be out of water in 2 weeks. And right now, the Iranians have de facto closed off the Strait of Hormuz, and the GCC gets 90% of its food from the Strait of Hormuz. So I know a lot of people are talking about the disruptions to the global economy, but right now, the Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. And why this is important is that the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars, and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy through the investments in the stock market. And right now, we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil, and they're no longer able to finance.
That video you linked is not available anymore, Granola Foe. That second video is not available, so you took that one down.
AI, this AI bubble in the United States, then this AI bubble will burst, and with it will burst as well as the entire American economy, which is.
Here's the thing. I don't think that this prediction is necessarily wrong. In fact, I've been saying this very similar thing, that there's an AI bubble. The problem with predicting bubbles bursting is that the markets can remain irrational far longer than we remain solvent. And there is an incentive in social media to make big predictions for things like this. And if they don't come true, well, then who's going to keep you accountable, right? You know, so there is an incentive to make these and if you want to believe they're true, you know, you interact with them. That's kind of a kind of crisis that we have. Like, I'm not sure that here, you want a thought of an example of his thoughts on economics? Okay.
What is socialism? Socialism is just a redistribution of wealth.
Okay. No, but it's all right. Socialism is actually about changing the mechanisms by which ownership of the means of production is socialized. That's why it's called socialism, because you're socializing ownership of the means of production and taking it out of private hands and destroying the capitalist class. It's not just redistributing wealth.
A redistribution of wealth. Now, let's, for the sake of simplicity, say there are three classes, okay? You have the rich, you have the middle class.
What is the middle class? What is the middle class?
And you have the poor. Okay?
Okay, those are classes.
Right? So all
what is the rich? I actually don't even know what the rich are either. Right? Now, this is why on the left we say that the classes are between those that derive their income primarily from ownership of assets and control over the means of production. Ownership of asset includes control of firms and ownership of firms. And then there is the proletariat, which are people that perform wage labor and sell that labor to capitalists in exchange for a wage. So that is a better understanding of the economy. Now, there are complications and there are gradations and there are variations within these different class divisions, but fundamentally it's between the ownership class, those that derive their power, control, and income from owning things, and the working class, namely those that derive their income from working for a wage. So I'm not saying this guy's bad or anything. I just don't, let's just say that I probably find myself more advanced than whatever he's saying. So I never really watched it because I'm not curious.
Really a financial Ponzi scheme.
Right.
So that's a dire situation that the Americans are facing right now.
What Mark's got wrong?
To your point,
oh boy.
Sir, an Amazon data center was literally hit in the UAE.
Listen, I don't want to attack this guy right now. It's not probably useful for any of us to go into why this guy sucks. But I'm just more curious about why they're presenting it, what they're presenting.
Now, of course, big tech companies, which were looking at the UAE as a major potential data center investment hub with cheap and abundant energy, probably going to be rethinking that. We also wanted to talk to you about munitions. We can put this next one up here on the screen. The United States is racing to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out. This is specifically around interceptor math. There's a famous video just from yesterday in Israel, which shows a single Iranian ballistic missile, which is being targeted by some 11 different interceptors, all of which miss. Most of those come from the United States, not to mention all of the different bases, the GCC countries that you just talked about, and the asymmetry of the cost. It's $1 million for a missile, tens of millions per interceptor in some of these cases. With these munitions running out, how does that change the global picture? So you're in China, obviously, much of the stocks in Asia of the United States are likely to have to be cannibalized if this were to go on. How's that going to affect the global picture here?
Right. So my first point is that the United States military is not designed to fight a 21st century war. Remember, the military-industrial complex came to being after World War II, and it's designed to fight the Cold War. And the Cold War was really about muscle flexing, about who was able to send people up into space, who was to first get the person on the moon, who had the more complex missile systems. And so the entire American military strategy revolves around very sophisticated technology that costs a lot.
Okay, I would basically say this is not correct. I think he's dividing a lot of different eras, which had a lot of different strategies, into what he's called the Cold War. And honestly, I don't think that it's very useful. The military that we have now is intended to fight asymmetric conflicts, occupation, and counterinsurgency, right? That's the technologies that we have. They are not a heavy conventional invasion force that could overcome a near-peer adversary. It's not intended to be able to invade a large amount of territory. I think that's the more relevant difference than, like, you know, whether or not we're fighting a war in Europe against a Soviet, armor columns or whatever.
A lot of money to build, and that's what the American air defense system is basically, and that's why we're seeing this asymmetry.
Okay. No, by the way, he's right about this. The American air defense systems are designed to be fighting a near-peer adversary, right? So, like, our interceptors are intended to be shooting at fighters, at bombers, right? And to be intercepting, expensive cruise missiles and nuclear devices and things like that. If we're shooting expensive interceptor, the jet costs $500 million and the interceptor costs $10 million, well, then that makes sense, right? The interceptor is much cheaper than the fighter. But if you're spending a $10 million interceptor against a $50,000 drone, well, then the math is going the opposite way. And he's right about this. He's correct about this.
Point out in this war where you have these $1 million missiles trying to take out these $50,000 drones, and it's not sustainable in the long term. And so what we're seeing is really the puncturing of the aura of invincibility and inevitability that sustained American hegemony for the past 20 years, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And this is really a reordering of not just the global economy, because this signals the collapse of the petrodollar, and with it, the entire US dollar-based reserve currency system, but also the global hegemony of the United States. We're moving towards a multipolar world.
Professor, this morning, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was asked a question about potential ground troops in Iran. He refused to rule out that possibility. And he said, we're not going to project to you what we will or will not do, but we don't want to, rule anything out. We will do what it takes. Do you think that America will end up invading Iran from the ground, since it's already becoming relatively clear they won't be able to accomplish the goal of regime change or even regime collapse using just air power alone?
Right. So everyone says that the worst calamity that could happen in the United States is if it were to send ground troops into Iran. At the same time, the United States are committed to regime change in Iran. We've never had a precedent in history where you were able to regime change from the air alone. You need ground troops. And so unfortunately, what's going to happen over the next few months is that pressure will build on America to send ground troops, especially from the GCC countries and from Israel, which are being pounded right now by the Iranians. So remember that if the GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, if they go, then the petrodollar goes with them. So the Americans need to protect these countries, and these countries are going to demand that either the Americans bribe the Iranians to cease, and this is like $5 trillion in indemnity, okay? Or send ground troops to wipe out the Iranian threat once and for all. And I know that there's no political will for ground troops to be used against Iran among the American people. But remember that 78% of American people was against initial strikes against Iran in the first place.
Right. And one of the things that really comes into question, I think, with all of this, sir, when we're looking at the geopolitical picture and the sacrificing in much of this from the United States on behalf of Israel, is kind of a question as to who and what wanted this. We were actually curious for your view on a disputed report here from the Washington Post. We can put it up here on the screen, F3. A push from the Saudis. Israel helped move Trump to attack Iran. Now, this has been internally disputed by Saudi Arabia, saying that they did not push the Trump administration to attack Iran. However, this is clearly an authorized leak from our own government, trying to at least lay some of the blame on behalf of the GCC. What do you make of this analysis and of this narrative that Saudi Arabia was also trying to be behind this push to bomb Iran?
So I've always argued that both Saudi Arabia and Israel are heavily invested in regime change in Iran. In fact, Saudi Arabia sees Iran as much more of an existential crisis than Israel. Because remember, Israel still has nuclear weapons, and Israel is a very diverse, very sophisticated economy, whereas Saudi Arabia is completely reliant on oil. And it's always had problems with Iran because Iran is a theocracy opposed to the Saudi monarchy. Iran funds and equips the Houthis, which have been antagonistic towards Saudi Arabia for the longest time. And right now, the Saudi economy is suffering. It's been trying to pivot towards more of a tourist economy. That's why they brought in Ronaldo. That's why they're switching to e-gaming. That's why they're building something called a line, NEOM. And all these things are not working out. So they need to be able to control the oil resources of the entire Middle East if they are to survive and thrive as a nation. So I do believe that this reporting is credible, even though it does make Saudi Arabia look bad. But remember, Saudi Arabia says that they wanted peace, but they are helping the Israelis and the Americans attack Iran right now because they're allowing the Israelis and Americans to use Saudi airspace.
So help us understand, because it still feels to me like there's some pieces that don't totally add up. You had, in advance of this war on Iran, you had top military brass up to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying, this is a really bad idea. We are not ready for this. All the math on the interceptors that's been talked about for months at this point. And yet Trump still decided to go ahead. What is the calculus that he was making here that led him to take what, already appears to be catastrophic actions?
Right, okay. So this is the key question. Why do they do this? I think there are three possibilities, okay? And I think all three possibilities are valid. The first is that if...
Oh, by the way, Chad, Saudi Arabia did not want this war on Iran. That would be insane. They're the ones that are the most, at risk from an Iranian counterstrike. Israel's all the way the fuck across the entire Middle East. Like, that would be insane.
Hubris. If you look at history, this is how empires behave. So the Mindoro kidnapping was quick, successful, and it was adrenaline rush for Trump. And that made him overconfident in the capacity of the American military. Okay, so hubris is a factor, and we see this throughout history. Why did Hitler invade Stalin? Because he conquered Europe really easily, and he thought it was invincible, right? And that led to the destruction of the German army in the Soviet Union. So hubris is a factor. Then you have to look at internal political calculus, where even though America does not benefit from this war against Iran, Trump himself personally benefits. Why? Because the Saudis and the Israelis are bribing him to attack Iran. Remember that the Saudis invested $2 billion in the private equity fund of Jared Kushner, who is the son-in-law of Donald Trump. And the Israelis, through Miriam Adelson, have been financing Trump's political career. Right, so Miriam Adelson, a few months back, said that she will put up $250 million if Trump were to run a third term. So Trump is getting a lot of financial and political support from the Saudis and the Israelis. Also, remember that if this war goes sideways and Trump is forced to use ground troops, he will probably get approval from Congress, and this will give him emergency war powers, which will allow him to influence the midterms. So Trump is thinking about a third term. And I think at the ballot box, he probably won't get it. But if there's a war going on and you can delay elections and you have emergency war powers, and people rally around the flag, then he probably will get a third term. And the last factor that is very important is the eschatological factor, where if you look at the Epstein files, it's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is run by these individuals who have a lot of power.
Wait, what did he just say, Chad? I got bored. I'm sorry.
Because the Saudis and Israelis are bribing him to attack Iran. Remember that the Saudis invested.
What's the base of saying the Saudis want him to attack Iran? We're just saying things now?
$2 billion in the private equity fund of Jared Kushner, who is
this is true. Like, they are bribing Trump.
Son-in-law of Donald Trump. And the Israelis, through Miriam Adelson, have been financing Trump's political career, right? So Miriam Adelson, a few months back, said that she will put up $250 million if Trump were to run a third term. So Trump is getting a lot of financial and political support from the Saudis and Israelis. Also remember that if this war goes sideways and Trump is forced to use ground troops, he will probably get approval from Congress, and this will give him emergency war powers, which will allow him to.
First of all, no. I don't think he would get approval from Congress, to be honest with you. Unless we have some sort of like dramatic, false flag attack on the U.S. first. I can't. I mean, which is a definite possibility. But right now, I don't think people like this, and I feel like a lot of politicians are starting to feel the heat. You know how many Democrats are being primaried right now? There's like 30 serious primary challengers already, and there's probably going to be more.
Influence the midterms. So Trump is thinking about.
I could see them dirty. I could see something happening in New York again.
Third term. And I think at the ballot box, he probably won't get it. But if there's a war going on and you can delay elections and you have emergency war powers.
That's never happened in the history of the United States. I don't know what the fuck are you talking about. We have never delayed elections in the U.S. We didn't delay actions in World War I. We didn't delay elections in the Civil War. We did not delay elections in World War II. In what way would a ground invasion of Iran across the world necessitate delaying elections in the U.S.? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Now, you're really just saying Donald Trump is going to be a dictator. He's going to try to coup the government, which, okay, make that your prediction. Don't make it connected to the Iranian shit. That's not relevant. There is no authority in the Constitution to delay elections. So I'm not saying that it can't happen. Donald Trump very clearly wants to do this type of shit. But I don't think that has to do, like, he's just saying things. He's just making bigger and bigger predictions. And he's not really justifying them with argument. He's just like saying they're going to happen.
Powers, and people rally around the flag, then he probably will get a third term. And the last.
Okay, if he gets a third term, there's no such thing as terms anymore, because the Constitution is the thing that empowers the office of the president. And if we're just ignoring the Constitution and he's running for a third term directly against the clear language of the text, well, then it's not really a term anymore. You're just saying Donald Trump will stay in power and that the constitutional order is at an end. Which, if that is your prediction, make that your prediction. By the way, this is crack cocaine for libs. I can see why he's popular. This is honestly very similar to the Left Behind series that I was referencing earlier with conservatives. This kind of like apocalyptic fantasizing is very popular with libs. They love this kind of shit. This is just left-wing conspiracy theory, which is a good sign, by the way. The fact that this kind of dumbass shit is popular is actually a good sign, because it means the cranks are coming in our direction. It's the side that has more cranks is the side that has more people. Cranks are part of a sign that a political movement is growing. Is cranks grow with the movement.
Last factor that is very important is the eschatological factor, where if you look at the Epstein files, it's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is.
Okay. As my law professors always told me, when somebody says something is clear, that is a key pillar of their argument, and oftentimes signals they're going to do they're going to do a leap of logic. It's an important conclusion. So if somebody says it is clear that, it is obvious that, it follows that, and there's not evidence being put out, they're bullshitting you. So why is it clear we're run by secret societies? What secret society are we run by? What is it called? Who's in the organization? How do they recruit new members? Like, what secret society is running it? Can you be more specific?
Run by these individuals who have a lot of power. We don't know who they are, but they control.
Okay, so this, ladies and gentlemen, is actually damaging to the left because he's now saying dumbass, esoteric shit, which always leads you back to anti-Semitism, because that's the way right-wingers, he's not conceptualizing the world according to a materialist analysis. They're the rich. They're the bourgeoisie. They're the international cosmopolitan capitalist class. It's not secret societies. It's not individuals. It's not exciting fucking demon worship. It is the capitalist class united across national borders for their class interest. It's fucking straightforwardly the rich. It's not fucking secret societies worshiping fucking demons or some shit. They molest kids for fun. Like, Jesus Christ, the Epstein class is the capitalist class. Not hard.
The military, they control the national security apparatus. And these people...
Who's they? Who's these people? Who are you talking about?
Names for these people, you can call them the Illuminati.
The only reason this guy is not saying Jew is because being anti-Semitic is seen to be kind of like trashy. Being like openly anti-Semitic is seen as being trashy, but he's basically saying it. Also, I predicted it. Man, I predicted where his argument was going because he wasn't making materialist analysis. So funny they'll have this guy on and not me. Isn't that interesting? You don't say. You don't. Isn't that interesting? Well, most people who, over the years, like, I've realized that some people they don't like someone who's more intelligent than them. And I'm not saying that I'm the most intelligent guy. It's just, you fell for Tulsi Gabbard. Your entire pretense of breaking points is a fucking idiotic idea that the far left is going to work with the populist left and the populist right. That is a moronic idea. It is stupid as fuck on its face.
And the Illuminati are composed of three major groups, okay? You have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Septine.
First of all, the Jesuits don't control shit. What the fuck are you talking about? And the Jesuits would be against the war. They're not in favor of the fucking war. The Catholic Church is not in favor of the genocide in Gaza or the war in Iran. You're just wrong. What the fuck are you talking about? This is like evangelical Christian shit. An anti-papist. That's crazy.
Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today.
Frankists? Oh my God. Oh my God. Frankists is like deep anti-Semitic lore. Like, I barely know about that one. Frankists? That's some deep anti-Semitic lore. Okay, Frankists are about... Jesus fucking Christ. Why am I even explaining this? Okay, there was this weird Jewish heresy where there was a guy who was convinced that to make the Messiah return to Earth, you needed to like violate all the laws of Judaism. Okay, that's what a Frankist is. So basically, you would do evil shit, and that would cause the Messiah to return because you're like you're violating all the precepts. It's an incredibly fringe Polish Jewish heresy that, honest to God, it's interesting. It's fun. It's a fun thing to read about. And he kind of got a big following, but then ultimately it petered out and died out. But it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're not Christian. Although they did en masse convert to Catholicism, but then they were purged from Catholicism as well because of their weird fucking behaviors they were doing. And they kept getting like deported. Mike, remember, this has 2.2 million views. Yes, it's dumb as fuck. What do you want me to say? Kat Abu Ghazaleh responds at Iran, Taiwan, Ukraine, and interventionism. Oh, okay. We might have to see this. I might have to watch this offline because I might blow a gasket.
The Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus.
Sometimes I get depressed because like I come on here and I give you guys like a graduate level education in law and history and international relations, and I explain things in a sophisticated manner. I showed you guys the like evangelical Christian Zionism cult with quotes. I showed you the videos of them. I got you. I curated a report from a military freedom, religious freedom organization talking about how they're talking about causing, the Armageddon from the dispensationalists. We talked about all that shit. I linked you up with the exact people that are in the White House. I showed you who's connected to who, everything, the way that Israel is funded by these Christian Zionists. I weaved a accurate depiction of reality, and I do very well for myself. I'm doing well. I don't want you to think that I'm starving here. But then this fucking moron goes up there and says Freemasons like it's 1815, and they're not saying a goddamn thing. Yo, Crystal, you awake? That's his argument as well. Except mine is fucking sourced. This is just blathering. I'm showing you the fucking people that are in the White House. He's just blathering bullshit. If you can't tell the difference between what I'm doing and what this fucking idiot's doing, honest to God, why do I even do this? Like, legitimately, if you can't discern the difference between me and Hassan and this fucking idiot, honest to God, why do we do anything?
Of the United States. And they believe that Israel, this war in the Middle East, is key to the end times in creating heaven on earth. So it's almost like a
Freemasons do that? You mean the dispensationalist evangelical Christians? The Freemasons and the Jesuits believe in fucking the rapture now? What are you talking about? You're blathering. You're just throwing things out. You have no idea what you're talking about. He's an actual fucking idiot. I was trying not to be mean, but holy fucking shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
That they're following, even though it doesn't make any geopolitical sense. Okay, so I would say that these three are the best reasons why this is happening.
Wow. Well, sir, I hope you come.
Wow! What a fucking response! How many TYTs do we have to go through before we get like a real, you know what I mean? Like how many TYTs? Breaking Points is just TYT2. How many of these do we have to go through before we get some fucking socialists with some political education?
Back. This was very informative, I think, for both of us. We deeply appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave.
Response to the Freemasons and the Jesuits are doing it? Bro went scorched earth calling out the Illuminati. 12,000 upvotes. I think I may commit seppuku live on stream. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? This is why they do it, by the way. Holy fuck, man. Ah, damn it, dude. Describing Taiwan as border disputes is insane thinking, Crystal. The outright imperialism, it needs to be stopped. Taiwan is imperialism from China? I am legitimately... Oh, thank God. Jesus Christ. It's insane that Ryan immediately goes to say that Ukraine's only still fighting because Ukrainians in mass are being wrapped up the strip and shipped to the front line, which is objectively true. Polls show 70% of Ukrainians want the war to end. It's really disappointing to learn that she supports Eddie D. She wants wars just with her party in charge. Correct. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, all right, chat. I'm gonna call it there. Holy fucking hell. Jesus Christ in heaven. My brain is... That was absolutely fucking horrible. I know the Freemasons. I know all the dumb crank shit about Freemasons and Illuminati and Frankus. I know all the dumb fucking conspiracy theories. This is a socialist stream, not a moron stream. We don't do moron shit here. Like, what the fuck do you want me to say? Oh my God. I feel like my head is gonna explode. The stupidity of everyone is fucking, it's harsh. It's fucking harsh. Holy shit. It's very hard to get me knocked off kilter. But the pro war with China back to back with it's the Freemasons and the Illuminati. I mean, I don't know that I don't know that I can handle the stupidity. Holy fucking hell. Anyway, chat, we have a new video. Help it grow. Chat, we've got a new video of me reacting to Welsh and the I've Had It podcast. Help me get into their algorithm, chat, please. By going and liking the video and watching it. See you later. Fuck.